to welcome you all to the February Historic District Board of Review meeting. Brooke, you want to start us off with doing a roll call so we can back in a second?
Josh Wilbur,
Here.
Jerome Vernon,
Here.
Thomas Stark,
Here.
Owen McCall,
Here.
and Mike Pittman.
All right. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes for January? And you have any questions, comments? Hearing none. I have two. Oh, you have two. All right.
Okay. So the first one is on page 1956. They cut the bottom off that had the, I think were the page numbers for this document. But anyway, this is 111 East 2nd Street. After the discussion, it says Jay Wilbur asked for motion of porch railing. And so it says, based on the preceding finding fact, I move to John Morgan for the to extend to John Morgan for the project at 100 Elm Street to blank. It just ends there.
I should make it for 2 February.
Ah,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then on the next page, I think it was me making the motion. I said, based on the preceding finding fact, I move the Madison Historic District Board of Review extends John Morgan for the project at 100 Elm Street to, again, it just ends without.
So it should be February.
I did fix that one if it's for Van and Trevor Crafton for 422 St. Michael's. I did correct that one, but.
Yes, 222 St. Michael's. That was.
And I can pass this to you or to each of you to see the correction if you'd like to review that.
You still got to make the other one?
I do still need to make the other one. I will insert the proper COA language into that to make that change. Would you like me to read that?
Just stop there.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the correction.
I guess.
That's the correction to that whole position.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Okay, so that one's good for, that correction is.
The other correction I will put in the proper COA language.
Okay.
Would you like me to read that?
Yes.
Okay. Let me get that pulled up just one moment. I apologize. All right, so it will read, if we pick up the HDVR extend to John Morgan. So that is the one for, sorry, let me just double check that. That is the one for the railings, or excuse me, the roof. So it will read, for the porch column and roof modifications as presented in this application for the project at 403 West First Street.
This was 111 East 2nd was actually this one.
Okay, sorry about that. Let me edit that one. Okay, so that one will read, when we say extend, then we will say extend to Matthew and Daniel Chandler to replace 6 windows on the front and 14 on the east side with aluminum clad windows. Replace the overhead door with multi-pane glass, wood, or aluminum clad double doors and side lights. A 12-foot by 4-foot fabricated awning/sign with the name of the hotel made of wood and metal, with the signage to be no taller than 18 inches tall and conform to the ordinance. 2 new metal and glass doors to be installed on the east for 111 East 2nd Street.
Right. Any other corrections, additions? With that, we'll accept the motion.
Move to approve the January 24th minutes.
A second?
Josh Willard,
Approved.
Jerome Vernon,
Approved.
Thomas Stark,
Approve.
and Owen McCall.
Approved.
All right, we'll go into our review of applications. Just so everyone's aware of how this process goes, I will call up the applicant for the address that we have up on the slide. The applicant or someone representing the applicant come up to the podium. You would at that point in time state your name and your address that you actually reside at. And then at that point in time, Brooke will go over the application, discuss it with us. Then we will give the applicant a chance, or whoever's representing the applicant, a chance to add to that if they would like to. And then the board will have an opportunity to ask questions about the application. And then we will give a chance for the audience to ask questions. And after that point, we'll go to a findings of fact, of which we will go into on each element of the application. And after that, we will take a vote. So that is the process. Hopefully not too lengthy or tough for you. So with the first application, it is 403 West 1st Street. How are you doing? Welcome back.
Thank you. So Louis Joyner, architect, representing John Morgan. My address is 4117 7th Street, Columbus.
Thank you. Can you turn on your, is it on? There you go. Brooke?
So
Did I
this,
need feedback?
No, we'll be good.
So this application by John Morgan and Louis Joyner Architect is for a circa 1880 Italian zoned historic district residential. The COA request is to rework the existing second floor porch railing to meet code required height of 36 inches. Currently, the railing height is 32 inches. There we go. So you can see the picture on the left showing the existing east elevation and the picture on the right showing the proposed east elevation. And they're showing the existing south on the left, proposed south on the right. These are detailed drawings of the railing. So if you look at the image in the center bottom, it shows essentially a blow up of the piece that would be added onto the historic railing to meet that modification height of 36 inches. And that is all I have.
Do you want to add to that? You can go up to the
Sure.
screen.
Yeah, because so the original railing is pretty wide top rail, and this is some modification for this at some point. So then bottom rail, and then, so what we're proposing to do is just maintain this section, add about, I guess 3.5 inches of a molding in between, and then put it all back together and put the cap back on. That brings us up, it seems to us that
To 36.
to 36. You'll recall that last time, when it's red, is it on?
It's on, yes.
Okay. Last time we were here, you approved the whole project except for the railing with the question about what were we actually going to do, because we hadn't detailed that yet.
Yeah.
So we feel like it, sort of gets us halfway between what's there and.
So the addition then is just molding on top of the existing, or are there actual little spindles in between the top rail and the bottom rail of the new panel?
So we're taking the top rail off
Mm-hmm.
and inserting the molding and then putting the top rail back on.
Okay.
So it becomes still kind of it still looks like the.
It's just a heavier
Yeah.
molding then,
Right.
yeah.
So the molding's basically 4 inches. Or,
Yeah, 3.5.
3.5,
Yeah.
3.5.
3.5, 3.25.
Any other questions from the board? All right, any questions from the audience? All right, Hearing none, we'll go to findings of fact, and Jerome, you want to take us through the findings of fact on porches, columns, and railings?
Sure.
Do you need this figure?
No, I think I got it. It's just
Okay.
a little fuzzy. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Porches and columns. Porch columns and railings. Page 51 to 52 of the residential guidelines. Historic porch columns and railings should be retained and repaired with materials to match the original. If the original porch columns and railings are missing, replacement porch columns and railings should be appropriate to the dwelling's architectural style and period.
You don't have to read the whole thing, just, you could,
Okay, let's see what, I'm trying to see what
Yeah.
actually applies. I think that's, from what I can see on that page.
Did you read number 6?
Yeah, number 6, original porch railing should be rebuilt rather than removed to avoid conflicts with building codes. Today's building codes generally require the tops of the railing to be at least 36 inches above grade, which is often too high for historic porches. The porches is necessary, consider raising the grade level through landscaping to retain appropriate railing. Doesn't apply in this case. And is that all you have to put on it?
Yes.
Okay.
you think it meets the findings of fact?
And I believe it does meet the finding of facts.
Tom?
I agree for the same reasons.
Tom?
I agree. I think it's a beautiful solution to the problem. It makes it look even kind of more elegant, beefy, that looks even better.
That top rail is really big, large scale, so I think it'll help kind of pull that together a little bit. Thank you.
Oh, you took the words out of my mouth. That's what I was going to say.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, we appreciate you guys going back to it and you talking to Mr. Morgan. It certainly brings, elegance to the property, which the property is obviously beautiful as it is anyway. It just really helps. And of course, then gets into all the other stuff, which helps a lot. So much appreciated. All right, with that, we have a motion.
Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that the Madison Historic District Board of Review grant a certificate of appropriateness to John Morgan and Louis Joyner, architect, for the proposed reworking of the second floor railings to meet code required height of 36 inches by adding a molding to the top of the existing railing, and also to add the new railing on the southern exposure with the same panel or molding. And both panels can be removed if desired in the future. I think that's important to put that in there, because you're really not tearing anything off. You're just adding something that could be removed at a later date.
That makes sense. Thank you.
And that's located at 403 West First Street.
Do you have a second?
I second.
Burke?
Owen McCall,
Approve.
Thomas Stark,
Approve.
Jerome Vernon,
Approve.
and Josh Wilbur.
Approved. So with that, you will get a certificate of appropriateness in the mail, and you can finish your job there.
All right.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. All right, our next application is 707 Jefferson Street. How are you doing? Welcome back.
Thank you. It's Adam Dupre from Fast Signs in Jeffersonville, Indiana, located 215 Quartermaster Quarter, Jefferson Street.
Turn your microphone
Yeah,
on.
get it turned off.
Sorry.
It's all right.
I'll repeat it. Do I need to repeat it?
No, we'll be good.
All right, cool.
Go ahead, Burke.
So this application by the American Legion, represented by Mike Bath and Fast Signs of Jeffersonville, I apologize, I put Louisville in accidentally on that.
You're all right.
Is in reference to a circa 1980 building, determined no style, zoned general business. The COA request is to retrofit the existing letterboard, changeable message sign on the pole to a 6-foot by 3-foot LED digital EVMS sign using the existing pole and cabinet structure. And you can see the photograph, aerial photograph of the location of the sign. A more close photograph of the existing sign. These photographs on the left show the existing, on the right show the proposed. This slide shows some of the technology for the new proposed sign, showing that it will work in different types of weather. This is an example of a larger LED sign. Another slide of some of the technological components of the sign, showing that there's not going to be any exposed wiring. These are some of the updated information that we have from the application from last month. So specific sign specifications. It will be a heavy-duty plastic in an aluminum frame. It will be mounted inside the existing sign frame. The color capability is 281 trillion. The maximum brightness is between 5500 and 7500 nits. However, it can be adjusted or variable. It does have a dimmer brightness mode. The resolution is 9mm, which is a pixel pitch. The message content is variable. However, a static message that changes periodically with no animation or motion elements is what has been proposed. And that although the sign has the capability of video and animation, it will not be used due to local sign ordinance regulations. The display dimensions are going to be 6 by 3 foot, 18 for a total of 18 square feet. It is double-sided. The grade to the bottom of the sign is approximately 18 feet. The overall height will be 21 feet. And that is all I have.
Was there a meeting? Did you guys have a meeting time?
Was it, Devin had a conflict, I believe, and we couldn't, was it Devin?
So, no, we had to cancel, the first meeting we rescheduled. There was a problem with the email that had gone out,
Right,
but everyone
right.
received it, so we had to cancel that one.
So we did not
And then
have
it was
it.
a scheduling conflict afterwards.
Yeah.
Right. Just want to make sure. All right. You had anything to add to what she's got?
No, not unless you guys have specific questions.
Well, I can tell you periodically is a very general word. Something more specific would probably be wanted, at least by me. I want something more like, won't be changed for X minutes or whatever it is, however many time it is. But that would be something that we'd have to look at, I think.
Sure. And that's all able to be programmed in there. So it's just like setting up like a slideshow on PowerPoint, for example. So if you want 60 seconds between messages or however long that can be set, and then they can make sure that they are compliant with that.
Do you have any questions about what's being presented here?
Will we be supplying the American Legion with guidelines for sign, font size, those types of things to the people with American Legion so that they'll be able, when they want to modify their message or change the message, to stay in compliance with our guidelines with respect to the fonts, to any other elements of the guideline that may pertain to modifying the message.
Our sign ordinance and our historic district guidelines are public information available on the city's website. While technically it is the responsibility of that property owner to know these items, the city has tried very diligently to educate people on these guidelines and ordinances. I do know it is something we have discussed at length, Adam and myself, and then Mike, Bath, and myself, about that. And they have provided assurances that they would stay within those ordinance and guidelines.
So does code enforcement, do they manage that on signs?
Yes, code enforcement, and I also do monitoring, whenever I drive around and look at things, but our new code enforcement officer as well, is in the process of, he's been doing the very good job with nuisance and different things, but he's also in the process of being trained to recognize historic district violations and different things. So, yes, there would be multiple eyes on the project.
And you understand that aspect of it, that here in Madison, Indiana, we've got very, very detailed and strict guidelines for color, fonts, all these aspects of signage. And given that the sign that you're planning on putting in is dynamic, it can be changed by the managers of the facility, it'd be important that they review the guidelines for signage and that they, when they do change the messages, that they adhere to those specifications.
Correct. And Mike and the American Legion are aware of that.
So I kind of agree with what Josh was saying in regards to changing periodically. I think we would need to nail that down. Also, I did a little research and called a couple of other friends of mine that live in different cities and historic districts, and I asked them how they handle this kind of a request, just curious, and they simply said they don't allow LED signs in historic districts for many of the reasons that we discussed last month and then also tonight. And then in addition, I did find out that there is a place in Louisville that has a 3D printer. I don't know if you guys have a 3D printer.
We don't.
They were, the gentleman from American Legion was talking about, many of his letters were missing or cracked or broken. As I understand it, you can either bring the material or they will supply it, and he can make those letters back and continue to use the sign that he's got. Another option would be to create a new sign that's not LED and that isn't internally lit as well. So that's kind of what I've been doing over the last 30 days, just to check in with other historic districts and find out what the options were, if there were.
Sure. And so for those two options, one is, I think part of the challenge isn't just the letters, it's actually being able to feasibly, it requires a lift to change that. And then the sign is already backlit now.
Right.
So it's just kind of retrofitting it.
It's internally lit, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess my concern, I've been, my whole life I've been in these, volunteer organizations where there's turnover after a few years, nobody remembers where this rule came from or it's forgotten altogether. And what I'm worried is not that the people that are in charge now would not do what they're saying on this sign, it's that in a few years, people say, I discovered this cool thing on the sign, we can make it flash, we can make it do this stuff, and then the building inspector, I don't think he's not thinking about that, and it's just gonna wind up the sign will, all the capabilities it has will be used, and it will just not, it won't be followed up by the city, everyone will kind of forget that you shouldn't be doing this. I'd be more comfortable if you actually had a sign that was within the guidelines. In fact, not internally lit,
Sure.
which, they're not supposed to be internally lit at all.
Sure. So as far as the capabilities part, and not staying in compliance or something like that, I know that the American Legion was going to put together a standard operating procedure, but in addition to that, the city does have an enforcement mechanism. So I guess in response, what I would say is kind of an analogy, is it's kind of like if I were to buy a Ferrari, right? That Ferrari is capable of driving 250 miles per hour, but the speed limit's 65. Just because it's capable of going 250 doesn't necessarily mean that I'm allowed to do that. Now it could be argued, okay, well maybe the local highway patrolman, the local sheriff, he may or may not enforce it. But there are a lot of things that could be what ifs like that when it comes to the different types of regulations and standards. And so, I guess it's, you know, they know how they need to operate it to stay in compliance, but if they don't, there's already a mechanism with, you know, consequences attached to that. You know, I guess we don't have control, they don't have control as to whether the city decides to enforce that, but it's, you know, it's there. And so it's just like any other law or regulation, I would argue, as to, okay, the law is there, and the enforcement mechanism is there with the consequences. And so, you know, that's that person's responsibility, just like the Ferrari owner's responsibility to drive within the speed limit. So it's their responsibility to operate it within compliance. I could see if, I guess, I could see it more if there wasn't already some sort of enforcement mechanism there in order to, if they weren't compliant, in order to enforce it, but that mechanism is there.
Yeah, I think for me, it's really hard because I think I've thought about this since we had this meeting, and the problem is, you know, what if everybody else starts wanting all these signs in downtown Madison? I think it would really wouldn't be the look, you know, that we could go for, and we want, you know, all across downtown Madison, which makes it difficult for me because I know their location is a little different, but it would be really difficult to start seeing LED signs all the way down Main Street, and you know, we kind of take away from what we're wanting. And the unfortunate thing at this point, they are certainly in the historic district, and that starts to, you know, as soon as you do one, it starts to domino force. So that'd be my call.
And in addition to that, our current merchants on Main Street and some of our side streets have complied, and also our sign companies have complied with the guidelines. So up to this point, you know, they have not, no one has even suggested using LED or digital signs. So it feel a little unfair to me when basically, as was suggested last month, how they advertise is by social media. You know, if they've got like a margarita night, I think you mentioned last time, or they have a special band coming in for Saturday night. It's all done through social media. And I agree that it could be a slippery slope if we allow one. And I think it just feels unfair to the sign companies in town and to the merchants who have complied.
You want to state your name and address?
Yes,
please.
please. My name is Michael Bath. My address is, residence is 2050 Michigan Road here in Madison. And I'm the first vice commander. I was here last month. I'd like to try to address a couple of things. To your concern, sir, that even when you write an SOP, somebody puts a rule in place, and then officers get reelected, things change hand, they don't remember where a rule comes through. What I had in my mind when we talked about this last month was to put in there, citing the reference of the city code, what the limitations are for any type sign, so that regardless whether I'm the first vice commander next year or somebody completely new 5 years down the road, they know that within this SOP that we've cited, these are driven by the city ordinance, so they know that it's not just something we as a board came up with. So try to maintain that so that they don't arbitrarily change something that would go against the city code. To your concern for the other businesses, I would only offer this, is that as you noticed in the application, or as she noted in the application, while we are in the historical district, we're not a historical building. And we're just retrofitting an existing sign that's pretty much non-functional. You know, yeah, I could probably have letters printed up, and then I'm gonna have to go find me somebody with a lift truck every time I need to change a message. I mean, the thing's 20-some feet in the air. And whereas some of the other businesses, they would actually be, in order to do what we're talking about, would be coming to you asking to affix an electronic sign to a historical building, one that doesn't even exist now. We're not trying to affix a new sign to a historical building. I fully recognize we're in the district, So we're just trying to retrofit a sign that's already there and try to make it functional. So,
Appreciate it, thank you. Any other questions from the board? Any questions, concerns from the audience?
I have another question, actually, too.
That's why I just want to make sure.
I have another question, is Baruch. I'm looking through our guidelines. We currently don't have anything that specifically addresses these new style signs, these LED type signs.
So our ordinance does not specifically state LED. However, it does talk about plastic material, and it also does talk about internally lit and flashing and motion. So, no, it does not specifically name LED.
So really, it's item number 2, plastic substrate or unfinished woods are not recommended. And then 11, internally lit signs are not appropriate for downtown areas. It's those 2 elements of the guidelines.
For our guidelines, yes.
Current.
Our ordinance, correct, our current guidelines, and our ordinance also addresses the animation, motion, and flashing.
But they won't be using the sign for that purpose. There won't be no animation, flashing, or any of that.
Correct. Yeah. None of that.
Scrolling?
No. There'll be static messages that stay, and then if there's a specific interval that those need to be on, the American Legion's agreed that they'll agree to some sort of agreement since that particular part, as far as the intervals, as far as I'm aware, that's not in there. But they're willing to have a formal written agreement on that.
absolutely, and we're not looking, and we actually, when we first contacted Fast Signs, we actually contacted 3 different sign companies to get quotes in order to try to see what was out there. We even talked about that, some of the aspects of what they're talking about, because honestly, I was trying to get a lower price. I don't need that stuff. I don't need it to flash. I don't need it to scroll a border around and all that kind of stuff. Don't want it, don't need it, don't want it. Unfortunately, a programmable sign where you can put up a static message, let it sit there for a period of time, be it a minute, be it whatever, and then have that fade out and a new sign come, and a new message come in, so you can have multiple messages up without having to, again, get on a ladder truck and try to change, plastic letters. We just thought it would help us recover, and we're really looking to try to get back, because one of the other differences I'd like to plea a little bit, I guess, is that where some of the other businesses, they're in town and they serve a purpose here in town, but they're for-profit businesses. We're nonprofit, and we're trying to get our revenues back up to pre-COVID revenues, to where we can start doing the things again that we used to do. American Legion for years here has paid for the fireworks on the 4th of July. COVID, we were shut down so long we couldn't do that for the past 2 years. We're looking to start doing that again. We give out $10,000 or better in scholarships for the local high schools here. We're trying to get back into that. And to your social media point, I realize that, but we just don't seem to have the reach as some of the other businesses do within social media to be able to get the word out to where we can, again, try to generate our revenues to where we can start being a benefit to the community. I mean, we don't make it, we run our business from a standpoint of trying to make enough revenue that, and by state, we actually have to donate so much of it away because we're not allowed to make some, profit. So I guess I'm trying to set ourselves a little bit different, that our mission is different than a standard restaurant or any of the other establishments.
Yeah.
And I understand the fairness issue. I guess I'm trying to plead because of our mission of being charitable and being donating to the welfare of our community, and that we can strike some sort of agreement where we can preserve the intent of the historical district, not take away from the ambiance that's here in town, but still be able to get our messages out so that we can get back to doing the things we've always done.
All right, Tom, you want to go through findings of fact?
Did you open it up to the?
Yeah, I already know.
Okay. Yeah, so, signs are important elements, in the historic, and commercial districts. Signs should be retained, maintained, and preserved. New signs should be of traditional materials, as wood, glass, copper, bronze letters. Plastic or unfinished wood signs are not appropriate. Signs should be sized in proportion to the building. Signs with logos or symbols for the business or for like the American Legion are encouraged. Signs should have no more than 2 to 3 colors and coordinated with the colors of the building. And I think that covers 2, 5, and 6.
Just to make note, if I may, real quick, I did put the sign ordinance on slides. I didn't know if you, it's up to you if you wanted to review that or not, but I do have 2 slides of sign ordinance information.
That's what that is. I'm doing that.
Let me know if you'd like me to advance to the next ordinance slide.
You want me to finish up, guys?
Just go ahead, please.
This sign is not in conformance with sign guidelines 2, 5, and 6 and 8 because it is constructed of plastic. It is internally lit with LED lights, does not resemble a logo or symbol, and has more than 2 or 3 colors. It is in conformance with guidelines 3 and 7 because the proposed new sign is in proportion to the building. The letters can be changed to conform to traditional styles and is appropriate to style, age of the building.
I will add something on the 2 to 3 color part. They can keep it within 2 to 3 colors if they choose to do that with the setup on it. So that can stay compliant with 2 to 3 colors of the messaging.
Okay. This is a tough one. I just don't believe that this particular project with the sign is in conformance with our guidelines, based on what I just said. So, yeah.
Owen?
I agree with Thomas for the same reasons.
Jerome?
I disagree with Tom and Owen on this aspect of it. And unfortunately, at this point in time, we don't have guidelines that are specific to the utilization of these dynamic LED lighting mechanisms for signage. It does seem that it is one aspect. I think it was numbers of number 11, with respect to internal lighting. That's the main element that I find. The other argument and restrictive aspect of this is plastic substrate or unfinished wood. You had mentioned it's not appropriate, but it actually says it's not recommended in the guidelines, as you would read in the guidelines. So I think maybe it's made of plastic, but it says not recommended. It doesn't say not appropriate. So I feel more comfortable with your proposed sign until we have a chance to really review the utilization of LED signage and modify our guidelines more specifically.
I have to agree with Tom on this, that right now our downtown I just don't believe is ready. We don't have an ordinance that really fits what LEDs might do and how they might fit within the downtown. And this is tough because I believe strongly in the veterans and I believe strongly in what the Legion does. I've been here for a long time. The Legion's been a major part of this community, and like you said, they've given so much to the community. and that's the hard part. But, you know, we have to think of what will this do? We approve this, and then there's gonna be other projects that are gonna come in front of us somewhere, because people are gonna start thinking, well, if this is the way we can go, we can start coming to the board with the same thing, and so we have to be cognizant of that, and that's the hard part, in my mind, so. So with that, we'll accept the motion on this.
Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that the Madison Historic District Board of Review deny a certificate of appropriateness to the American Legion, Mike Bath, and Fast Signs for the proposed project to install a new LED digital EVMS sign using the existing pole and cabinet structure located at 707 Jefferson Street.
I second. So, Brooke, you want to make sure everybody understands what their vote will mean on this? Because of
So on this particular motion, a vote to approve means that you will deny the application. A vote to deny means you are approving the application. So just to keep that, to clarify that. So would you like me to go ahead and do roll call?
yes.
Thomas Stark?
So say that one more time. If,
So your motion was to deny the application.
right,
So if you
If I
say
approve it.
approve, that is to deny the application.
gotcha.
If you say deny, that means to approve, so flip
I got
that. So Thomas Stark,
Approved.
Jerome Vernon,
Deny.
Josh Wilbur,
Approved.
and Owen McCall.
Approved. All right, so Brooke, that,
Carries.
it does carry because we do not have 4 votes to
Correct.
make it so. So that means the application is approved, right?
Yes.
So the application is approved, and you will get your certificate of appropriateness in the mail. The reason why it is approved, because we have to have 4 votes for or against either way, for something to happen. Okay, so that means you can move forward with your sign. If obviously in accordance with what you have already put up here, you know, you gotta follow the sign ordinance, obviously, just make sure, obviously your standard operating procedures, and I know you guys are very rigorous with that kind of stuff, just ensuring that that is in place. Thank you. All right, next application is 708 East 2nd Street.
Hello, gentlemen. My name is John Heiss. I live at 902 Michigan Road in Madison. What I needed to do?
You're fine, Brooke's up.
This application by John Heights is regarding a circa 1880 shotgun zoned historic district residential. The COA request is to demolish the current non-historic addition and rebuild a new addition to more closely match the primary historic structure. You can see some of the great room elevations, although this is interior. It does show some detail on the plans. Some of the detailing, if you'll notice some of the, for example, the bottom left shows an exterior door. The as-is garage floor plan. This is the studio apartment and garage floor plan that is proposed. So it's not changing the garage in structure, it's changing the floor plan interior. This would be the overall floor plan of the proposed new addition. And these are exterior elevations of the front and the side. Noting that when you look at the front, sometimes I know these architectural renderings are a little more difficult to gauge dimensions. The porch on the left will actually be set back, so it's not one solid facade that you're looking at on that picture on the left. Another, this shows the as-is floor plan currently, and that is all I have.
Is that the front?
Yeah, it's the front, the porch on the left actually sits back, that's there. There's another door, I think if you go back to the original, or could you have a picture too? Yeah, there, it's the one, see how it sits back on the left? So that's all pretty much existing. And we're really not gonna change that, I think that door will stay the same as well.
What you plan on tearing down is in the back.
Correct, yes, yes.
And that's what this application
Yeah.
specifically details.
And to add on, tear that down and rebuild
The back,
the back, correct, yeah. But we're gonna put a new window in the front.
but that's not on this.
That's because there's evidence of the original historic opening, that, you had submitted, that's a staff approvable item.
Oh, okay.
That when you were ready for that, then I'll take care of that, that's why it's
All
not
right,
on
No
there.
window for you, John.
All right.
John, you're using
Sure.
all the existing, the original window openings, correct?
Correct, yes,
That's,
yeah.
it's already there, so. it's
Yes.
just- yeah.
Yeah.
So the back, when you rebuild it, are you rebuilding it pretty much to the same footprint? It's just you're rebuilding it to
Well,
match more
it's
the.
big, it's gonna be a little bit, we're going back
Okay.
about 15 feet back
I missed that.
between the garage and the, if you go back to that. Oh, yeah, so there's a lot more in there.
That
You can go up
shows
there.
Yeah, so we're, this is coming back. This is the new addition that we're adding on to the back, once we take that down. And then just make like a courtyard between those two buildings. And the existing garage is all the same, that's just all interior. So, that's.
We have a few more slides too, don't we? No?
Is it-
Okay.
So, Mr. Hines?
I mean, yes, I have other slides. Is there another one you would like to reference, or?
Just the back
You wanna-
portion that he's
yeah.
tearing off.
So,
That was that picture I brought you.
yeah, that was the picture on the initial page there.
Well, I
No,
also,
the back portion, the addition.
Oh, sorry.
Backyard. And Mr. Hines, I have a question.
Sure.
While she's trying to find that. Now, has the back section of the building, has it already been removed? Has it already been demolished?
as a matter of fact, yes, it has. Before I could kind of tell the guy to stop, he went ahead and did that. I have a picture of it. There wasn't really much left, so,
Okay,
yeah.
because it says to demolish.
I know.
So it's already gone?
Yeah, it is gone, yes.
Okay.
And that is, I couldn't get there in time on that piece. But, we,
And it's not visible from the street?
correct, yeah. I have a picture of that. You guys need to see
Is
that. I
it
thought-
visible from the alley?
It would have been visible, yes, that is correct. But that was just it was an add-on,
Did it have vinyl?
Yes.
Something on it, yeah.
yeah, vinyl and holes all in it. Do you have that in the application, that other picture?
I did.
Okay,
Let me get that
that'd
pulled up.
probably be easier to show them.
While she's doing that, is there any other questions for John on this application?
Here's another one. Right, actually, two more.
Here we go. So basically, you're basically demolishing this detached, build a courtyard, and then have a secondary
Yeah.
rental, possible rental.
Yeah, or, yeah, correct. Maybe
Mother-in-law, what they call mother-in-law.
mother-in-law
suite.
suites, that's exactly what it is, or,
It's not far enough away.
that's right.
Never
had,
Just
no.
kidding.
Yeah.
That's why my mother-in-law's in Hanover, mine's in Madison. No. Okay.
Well, that'd be easier to get to like a 3-bedroom kind of property as well, without making it so tight.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Any questions, comments from the audience? All right. Hearing none. Owen, do you want to take us through findings of fact?
Okay, so rear and lateral additions.
Oh, you want to do addition first, sorry. There you go.
Okay, so new construction, right. So, it should be located at the rear, which this is. Should be secondary, smaller than the original, which this is. Should be of a compatible design, which this is. Should not imitate an earlier historic style, which this does not, correct? And, should reflect characteristics of the current building period, but compatible it is that. And should keep the exterior walls. The original building is intact, right?
Correct.
So it fulfills all of the residential guidelines for new construction. Okay, demolition. I would say it does not, because we should not be approving something that's already been done without approval. That's my stance is, I mean, ordinarily, you come here and it had been already torn down, I'd say, no problem. It's not a historic structure, but after the fact, I can't see granting approval for something that's already been done.
Owen, do you think it would have met the
I
demolition
do think
standards?
it would have met, yes.
All right, Jerome? You agree, disagree with Owen?
I agree with Owen.
Tom?
But
Oh, Silver, sorry.
we could modify this right now.
It's hard to not agree because it is demolished. So, yeah, that was kind of weird.
Yeah, I understand that, but, I mean, he's still got, this is an application, he's at least acknowledging it, bringing it in front of us, so that's all I can, say to it at this point in time, I mean,
I agree with Owen.
yeah.
I agree with Owen for the same reasons.
And I agree with Owen, I mean, I stated this last meeting, having applications come to us that, already been completed makes a lot of, no sense for us, cause we're here trying to, make decisions that, obviously, and I know that you've done a lot of good things for Madison. The reason why I'm not really being really hard on you, because I know that you're not doing this, you didn't do this purposely, I understand that, and tried to take care of it before it actually happened. But even with that, the intentions are usually there, that was what you wanted to do, and contractors still do it, and owning it is another thing, right? And had we said, hey, look, we don't agree to it, then you'd have to put that structure right back where it was, right? And that's what we don't want to have happen, and we don't want people to have to feel like they're coming here and, oh my gosh, the historic board's, be mad at us. Well, no, but, at least bring it to our attention first,
Sure.
And so I think at least set it up front and then try to hide it, and I appreciate that as well, so. Okay, so with that, we'll take a motion.
I knew, based on the preceding findings of fact.
Can you turn your microphone on? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that the Madison Historic District Board of Review grant a certificate of appropriateness to John Hines for the rear and lateral additions at 708 East 2nd Street, but deny the request for demolition of the non-contributing rear structure.
Josh, do we need to
Then we're gonna need to take them separately.
include siding the windows as shingles that's being used on the
new addition.
new addition?
I would say we'll have to.
Yeah.
If you want it to be specific
Yep.
on what can be used.
So, seeing how you want to look at this, I think we need to look at this in two separate motions.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, we have.
But I think we need to do a motion with demo first,
Okay.
because if, that is not approved, then really, going forward with the second thing doesn't make a lot of sense, because you're gonna have to rebuild his building back onto the house. If you don't approve it.
Really?
Well, yes, if it's not approved, then you'd have to rebuild it back, because he didn't have approval to demo the buildings.
I'm not sure I want that.
Well, but that's where we're at, and that's the problem, and I understand what your thoughts and your feelings are on it, because I have the same thoughts and feelings. I just am thinking about the applicant here, and I'm thinking about what he is trying to do. He's not, I don't think he came here with any malice in having done this ahead of time, and I think this would be his
Well, I guess what-
his warning shot.
I guess what I had assumed would be that it would stay demolished, but that we would refuse to bless it. But, no.
No, if it's not approved, he has to put it back. That would be.
Okay,
that would be what
now
the
I'll
city
withdraw that
recommended.
motion, and, let me okay, so
Honestly,
if we're gonna
Ken,
have.
you go state your name.
Mr. Chair, I believe this property came before the board.
But state your name and address. first.
Ken McWilliams, 315 Hopper.
Yes.
And I believe this property came before the board in a Zoom meeting 2 or 3 years ago. And we gave previous approval for that garage to be torn down.
For what to be torn down?
The back, the garage,
Yeah,
the
for the
back
garage.
building.
Well, the back building will stay, but it's just the little addition that's on
The
the back
addition.
like, that old piece right there. Yeah,
So part of
Garage.
it,
yeah, that one's not part of the garage.
I don't think that was part of the garage.
But this house came before us, and
Yeah.
there was a big discussion on shutters attaching the windows.
That's why it looks familiar to me, that's why I was
Yeah,
like.
Jim had it and I got it from Jim.
Okay.
So we're gonna-
Is it
Did we
within the
already
time
approve
frame?
that?
No, not for that part of the house.
That's separate, yeah, no, that was, that's separate.
Different part of the building.
Okay, okay. All right, so do we need to discuss the shingles and other aspects of this?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to go through findings of fact on the siding and shingles for the roofing.
You might even have to back up and ask a few questions.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, then,
Yeah.
we have to.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So tell us how you're putting it all back together, the addition, the exterior of it.
Well, the exterior will be, wooden siding, and then the shingles, I guess, are gonna be we're gonna match the shingles that are on it right now.
On the
There's
other
a-
house.
Yeah,
the
well,
existing.
yeah, the existing house, there'll be a connection come off of there, and then, the wood, we have the windows that we put on, which are, there's vinyl clad there now, so I think essentially,
Is it vinyl clad or aluminum clad?
they're vinyl.
Is it vinyl
Yeah,
clad?
yeah, that's what's on there right now. So, but we're gonna put wooden windows on the back of it. And
So where are the vinyl windows?
they're on the existing house, if you see the picture,
Okay.
Can you
Can we go back to that?
Yeah.
essentially it's all sort of, thrown together. The
So
two
the
doors are
windows
original,
are-
but none of the
So, but
others.
they're all coming out, right?
4 of them are coming out, we're putting a new one on, 2 in the little back area, I'm just gonna leave in there, they're existing.
So, I thought you were gonna use the entire window opening on the left-hand side of the building.
Well, you can see the picture though, yes, those are the 4, I'm gonna change 2 on each side and then the one in the front.
Okay.
Yeah.
And those will all be?
The wooden.
Wooden,
Yeah.
okay. So where are the vinyl ones? They're in the back of the?
Well, no, you can see right there, those are vinyl right there, and there's a couple other vinyl on that, on the existing, porch area right there, there's 2 up on the top.
John, are they just vinyl or are they actual vinyl clad?
I don't know specifically.
There's a big difference between those.
Well, I'm not touching those,
Yeah.
those are there.
Those there are staying, right?
No, there's, these are coming out, there's 2 on each side, we're gonna
Okay.
replace it, but right here, there's 2 little ones
Oh,
up there,
okay.
those are
Okay.
gonna stay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And those are vinyl back there.
Yeah, correct, yes.
And those are transoms above each door?
Yes.
Okay. And they're currently boarded in or?
Yeah.
And you're gonna reopen those?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's a mess.
Okay.
So you are looking then on your new structure, you're gonna use,
Wooden windows.
okay, there'll be
Yeah.
wooden windows. Oh.
Yeah.
any other questions on the material?
No. What? So the siding is just gonna be what kind of wood? Just regular wood?
Yeah, I don't, just whatever is in compliance that we're supposed to use, I don't.
Cement board or?
Well,
I'd like to use cement board.
Yeah, a lot of people will
Cement
say a
board.
hardy,
Yeah.
okay, like a hardy
Hardy
board,
board,
That's not wood.
and then,
Okay, whatever I'm supposed to use.
yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, we would certainly let you use wood, I just hate to see it, because
What?
we've had people coming from this board that did what we said, put on wood, and then within a very few years, it's in terrible shape, because they just don't make any good wood anymore.
Okay, well, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use what I'm supposed to use, okay? And that's what we'll do. There's nothing on it, it's an eyesore back there. You know, and I realize I put the cart before the horse, which we've all discussed there, but as far as the really detailed specifics, you know, we got all the plans together, and it's gonna be I think a big addition to that neighborhood. It's been an eyesore sitting there, so as far as the detailed specifics, I'd like to use a cement board, and I'll discuss what I'm supposed to use with my contractor as well.
Yeah,
But-
we just have to, we
No,
have to
no, I
make
get it.
sure when we
Sure.
do the motion, we're putting in the right
Yeah.
things, we know what we're approving.
Okay,
And so if you're wanting to go the hardy board, you know, type the cement board basically, you know, it's been approved in the past.
okay.
A lot of times they ask you to use a smooth one, not a
With no
textured
texture,
one,
yeah.
because the smooth is more characteristic
Porous,
of
okay.
the,
Yeah.
of the older type of material utilized.
How many windows are in the new addition that you're gonna put wood in?
There'll be, 3.
3.
So this will be aluminum clad wood?
I think,
No.
Whatever I saw.
Just wood, right?
Either, you can do aluminum
Okay.
clad wood or wood.
Okay,
Okay, so you're gonna do which one?
aluminum clad.
Okay.
oh, okay, that's even better.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, aluminum clad.
Mike, I assume you're the contractor?
No.
Oh, okay.
Can I ask you a question real
You
quick?
can come up,
Yes.
and- you gotta state your name and
Yeah.
address, and yes, please.
Ryan Rogers, 804 East First Street.
Yes.
On a project like this, can he give you multiple options as long as he uses one of the multiples? Like, he give you LP Smart Side, James Harvey Smooth, and maybe Cedar, based on availability, because there's also a problem getting materials right now. So I don't want to see anybody put himself in a box.
Sure.
Wood windows or wood aluminum clad, so that he has
Either one of
flexibility,
those.
but he does.
Yeah, I
have-
mean, the main thing is we get it narrowed down, because right now I feel like we're kind of,
Yeah,
we're so general,
okay.
we can't just approve something that's very general and generic.
Well, I'm talking maybe 3 options for the siding, and 2 options
Yeah.
for the
So,
windows.
with cement board or LP, as Josh mentioned, we prefer the smooth as to the texture.
So it's,
Okay.
it's a good question. We
Thank you.
don't, we normally have it pretty well narrowed down, so we can make sure that the application is in good standing.
Okay.
We know exactly what we're actually approving for that property, and it's not just, hey, you know, you put any of these types of materials, you know, whatever you want to put on there,
Yeah.
so.
And one last question.
Yes.
What's the material of the doors?
We're not gonna replace the doors. They're good, I put that, but they're good enough to
Front and back?
Yeah, they're,
You just have to
yeah,
repurpose them.
right, yeah,
Great.
they're nice.
And we're only talking about 3 new windows going.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay.
Well,
Well, no,
I have 8.
No,
5 on the
Yeah.
historic and 3 on the new.
1, 2,
It's
3.
very
So
precise.
there's 2 here, 2 here, that's 5.
Right.
And then 3 in the back.
Yeah.
Yes.
If I may interject, for the one on the front, since we do have evidence of the original historic opening, that is notably different than the picture window that was there.
Right.
So I do believe that, my recommendation would be that that would be specified. Let me just
That
say
would be
much.
what?
My recommendation with that is that that would be specified
About
that
the-
it match the historic
Talking about the
opening,
dimensions,
if that's your
I mean,
intention.
that's,
Yes.
the dimensions
I
of it.
wouldn't say. because
And is that 1/1, 2/2? Do you remember? Can you go back to the
Currently, it's
rendition?
1/1s.
1/1?
They are replacement windows, but currently it is 1/1.
Okay.
Now, the picture detailing shows 2/2. So,
You can see the front if you go, yeah.
Well, I mean, that one just, if you look at the bottom right, it shows 2/2. Whether, I didn't know if that was your specific intention
Something
or.
like two, yeah.
So you wanna change all your windows to 2/2?
Yeah.
D8.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And in the front, is it your intention to go with the original historic?
Yeah, there's a picture of it.
Yeah, go back to the drawing, Brooke.
Okay.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Beautiful.
That's-
Do those doors really look like that? Those are
It's
beautiful.
pretty close.
And
We'll
you
have
did,
to put
are
some
you
more
planning to
time.
put those shutters on there?
I don't think so, but no, do I need to
Yeah.
come?
Unless you have to add that to your application.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if I do that, I'll come up and ask for that.
We can do a staff approval on shutters,
Okay,
if you would like to do that.
okay.
And then I'm assuming aluminum gutters and downspouts?
There's gutters on it now, yeah, it would be aluminum.
And so you'll
In the back.
match what's on the
Correct.
historic portion?
Yes.
Any other questions? Seeing we kind of went through this.
No.
Again, is there any
Yeah.
questions from the audience on this one again?
Too bad at 3, it should have been 8. Sorry.
You're fine. It's a lot. You're
Yeah.
taking on a pretty big project there.
So do we have to keep the two separate still, or can we combine it if we
Well,
approve it,
If,
the demolition?
if Owen was going the route he was going, then we need to keep them separate.
I got you.
Okay. Would you like me to make another motion? Or,
Do we need to take them both separately? Owen?
no.
No? Okay, well then, make another.
He had a question, real quick, if I may. We are,
It's gonna be beautiful.
Well,
It's gonna be
this still, it still requires a motion.
I don't know what you do.
If I may publicly, just say, so the question was, is because the demolition has already been done, does that need to be part of the motion? And I was saying, yes, it does, because we have two different issues, demolition and building of a new addition. So they both need to be part of the motion regardless whether it's been already completed or not.
Yeah, so the question really was, do we do them two separate motions?
Yeah.
But if the intent of the motion is to approve that all of it, the entire project, including the demo, you can do it in a motion.
Oh, I follow you.
Would you rather it be, because they're good with one?
I'd rather wrap it all up in a whole.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
Okay.
Got it.
Let me try this.
Because that is adding the porch on. So let me make sure that
Include what?
the porch.
There's a porch being added? Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that whole front.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that either. Okay. Well, we don't have porch on here.
Yeah, it's on the second page.
Oh, is it on the second page?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It is, oh, it's elements.
Okay. All right. Make sure I include everything I got. This is kind of complicated. Okay. Base? Yes.
We haven't done findings of fact for everything, have we? Or are you satisfied with what we've?
Well, we probably, let's do the findings of fact. So, Tom, will you take us through the findings of fact on it?
Sure.
On the other things that we haven't done.
So we're gonna do,
Porches and porch columns and railings, I guess.
we're gonna do the lateral addition, the porches.
The additions we already did, the demolition we did. So
Right.
we need to now do windows and the other elements.
Okay. Windows are prominent building components. Historic windows should be retained, maintained, and if needed, repaired. Original window openings should be preserved, or I'm sorry, original windows should be preserved in their original size, location, and design with the original materials and number of panes. Windows should not be added to the primary facade. Windows should be repaired rather than replaced if severe deterioration necessitates replacement. 80% of the window must be gone, deteriorated. Windows can be replaced with either baked enamel and anodized aluminum windows, so wood or aluminum clad windows may be appropriate. And let's see, original metal windows in the 20th century. I don't think we don't need to cover the 4 or 5. Let's see. Snap screen, storm, security bars. I think that covers it, doesn't it, Brooke?
Mm-hmm.
So go flip back one, Brooke, to the previous screen.
Is that the one you, is
Yeah.
that the one you want? Okay.
So, you know, what you're doing is correcting a picture window on the front
Yeah.
back to the 2/2, which is very appropriate, and it's
Yeah.
going to be beautiful on the front of that house. And then the other windows that you're adding, you're actually restoring those windows back into the original openings,
Right.
which is great. The new windows that you're adding on the back are appropriate as well. Not a lot to work with for repair, so that's really a non-issue. So I think that the windows are in conformance with the guidelines. Porches. Porches are one of the most defining characteristics of historic houses in most cases. Porches should be retained, maintained, and if needed, repaired. New porches should be consistent with the historic appearance of the building to which they are attached. In most cases, historic porches are visible from the street and should be retained and maintained. Porches on the primary facade should not be enclosed, though screening is appropriate if the structural framework for the screen is minimal. Wood framing is preferred, though anodized and baked aluminum framing is acceptable. Raw aluminum framing is not appropriate. If the historic porch is missing, it is appropriate to replace it. Replacement porches should use materials and styles that are compatible with the building to which they are attached, and when possible, be based on historic photographic or documentary evidence. Removing a front porch that has been added where there was not one historically may be appropriate in some cases. We don't have any historic reference of a porch, do we?
I could not find
Yeah.
an
Yeah,
historic
we do.
photograph.
But,
I've got a picture of,
I-
oh, do you?
and then the lady that grew up there, that her parents, so I got that picture, kind of doesn't show that it's there, and I can get a
Oh,
better
yeah.
picture of that from her grandparents, or from her great grandparents.
If I may note, the picture that was included in the application, it was not a historic porch. I'm not sure what this picture,
Yeah.
I'd have to look at this
It
one.
looks like you're putting it close to what that was.
Well, she
So-
still has it from her grandparents, or from when she grew up there.
So, Porch Details, I mean, there was one there. We don't know how, you know, if there's been one or two there. I think the fact that you're putting one back on, and Brooke, if you can go back to that original design, I think it's appropriate to the age of the house. So I think the materials you're using, which I'm guessing are wood, spindles, wood columns, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then the only difference from that picture, which we don't know when that was added, is that this is gabled into the existing house. But that may have been appropriate also. I don't know that we have any evidence of anything suggesting anything different. So I think that the addition of your porch, your railings, or the spindles and the columns are appropriate and meet the guidelines.
That was the old one that we don't want to go back.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we don't want that. Yeah.
Okay. Then we got review roofs.
You're not doing any awnings, are you?
No.
Okay.
Yep. You got something for the roof?
let me, skip forward to another application on that. I apologize, let me, just one moment.
I'm not sure what you need to worry about. I mean, he's doing he's matching what he has.
Yeah.
And the pitch looked
Yeah.
like it was in congruence with the house.
Yeah.
Is the pitch the same as the house?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think that beats that guideline.
Yeah.
Owen, you
Okay.
agree his findings of fact?
I agree for the same, what did you say? What do you think it does? Does it or doesn't it?
I think that the porch and the columns and the spindles at the top, I think they're appropriate to the design of the house.
And
they meet the
everything else,
guidelines.
and everything else,
Yes.
same, okay, I agree for the same reasons on all subjects.
I agree, same reason.
I too agree for the same reasons. Now,
Okay.
you're on, Owen.
All right, based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that the Madison Historic District Board of Review grant a certificate of appropriateness to John Hines for the proposed, porches, roof, rear ladder, and lateral additions and windows and demolition located at 708 East Second Street, subject, however, to the conditions specified in the findings of fact made previously, to wit, the siding will be LP or some type of cement board siding. The windows will be, the 8 windows will have 2/2 lights, be either all wood or aluminum clad wood. The front window will revert to its historic opening size and shape. The doors will be repaired what isn't there. The roof will be shingle, which matches what is there. No change in pitch of the roof. The porch will be wood, and the style will be what was shown in the application, which is appropriate to the year of the house. Is that it?
Do we want to add smooth to the cement or LP siding? Instead?
And the LP or cement board siding will be smooth in texture, not the rough.
All right,
Anybody want a
do we have
second?
Yeah, we have a second? That's what I'm looking for.
Second?
Okay.
Josh Wilbur,
Approved.
Jerome Vernon,
Approved.
Thomas Stark,
Approved?
and Owen McCall.
Approved.
Thank you,
All right,
John.
John, thank you
Sorry about
for your
that.
patience.
You're welcome.
And,
I should have been more prepared on that.
It's all right, appreciate it, thank you, your COA in the mail, and you begin construction to see everything you're doing. All right, our next application
Oh,
is,
John,
Oh,
I apologize.
Oh, yeah.
You probably will need to contact Joe, or if you need any PCA or anything like that. Yeah, thanks.
Where's the coupons for free fries?
all right, next application is 816 West First Street.
Hi, thanks for having me. My name is Dave Cheatham. I'm the applicant for the 816 West First Street property.
Okay, what's your address, Dave?
816 West
Oh,
First.
so you're 860, okay, all right. All right,
This circa 1850 Holland Parlor is zoned historic district residential. The COA request is to demolish the existing porch and railing, to build a new porch and railing in the same location with the exception of the steps, which will be relocated to approximately 2 foot further to the east away from the western property line. You can see the picture currently, or what was there. This is an example of the proposed railing. A larger image of where the steps were located, and just to note, because those were over the property line, there was approval given from our department head for him to be able to go ahead and demolish those steps prior to the meeting. And that is all I have.
So where do you want, you wanting to put the steps more in front of the door? Is that what you're looking to move it?
Well, what happened originally, we were looking at the property back in November, and the former owner was fixing up things around the property, the steps, and the whole left side of the porch was severely deteriorated, it was crumbling and really unsafe. So in the process of him fixing things up, I was getting the survey done, and the survey wasn't done yet when he went ahead and fixed the steps. It turned out after the survey was done, the steps are encroaching on the next property. So legally I have to take them out. So I got a letter approval from the zoning board to do that. So we've gone ahead and removed the encroaching part and the basic area around the
Left
steps.
side.
Yeah, it's been removed. So right now, we're waiting for approval to replace the porch back the way it was. Well, new, not the way it was, but, and the rest of the porch really had a lot of deterioration also. It was cracked on top. There was flaking of the surface. The railing was really too low for code. It was too wide on the spindles. It was bent. It was rusted through, and it would just wobble. It was completely unsafe from the height that the porch is on. So we got permission to go ahead and remove it. We just need
So you removed
permission
the
to
porch
replace
already?
it. We want to replace it with concrete, new concrete. The surface and everything will be as close to the original as possible. Looking around the neighborhood, we're looking at other people's porches. We're trying to match as close as we can, and the railing matches other people's railing in the neighborhood across the street. So we're trying to make it as historically recoverable as possible, given the fact that conditions are pretty bad when we first started getting to work. The other thing that happened when they tore out the steps is the left front corner of the house, the foundation was crumbling as well. We didn't know that. And some of the bricks were coming loose, and there was crumbling of the concrete underneath it. So we went ahead and had them put concrete back in there to support that foundation, which I hope that's okay, but it was kind of an emergency thing that we didn't know that there was a problem there to do that. But so the foundation's been put in already, and we're just waiting for approval to actually put the rest of the porch back in.
Okay, so did you get permission from the building inspector, or was that who told you to take the porch out?
Nicole Shell gave me a letter, said I could go ahead and remove that.
Can I see that?
Yes,
So this was the steps that you got permission to remove?
Yes, sir.
So the rest of the porch, is it gone, or is it still
It's
there?
gone also because when we removed the part with the steps where we saw the crumbling foundation, and we didn't want to have a risk of there something collapsing, so we went ahead and put concrete back in, not porch, but just at the bottom of it.
The foot?
With the footer. The footer's been put back in with the wall, yes, And that's, right there, we're stopped till we get permission to put the porch back on and the railing, but, it would be essentially the same size as what the porch was, minus the steps being moved up. The steps actually have been just repositioned from here to right here. So they'll be in line with the property. The property is not very wide this way. There's maybe 24 inches on this side. And I didn't know that when I first bought it because the survey hadn't been finished when the previous owner had redone all this section. So he cut out this much of the porch and put new concrete here and here, which it didn't look good. Historically the other way, it was a patch job, and it was a pretty bad patch job. So we had determined when we bought the house, we probably want to replace the porch anyway, get more the way it was, originally, had a look and everything like that, as close as we could, given the fact that it was already messed up. So that's really what I'm asking you, just have permission to finish putting the porch back in, essentially.
Was that stone there and then cement on top of the stone, or was
Well,
that all cement? 'Cause
When
it
they
looks-
took some of this out, the history of it, the original steps were in the middle going up.
That's where I would have thought there was steps.
Yeah, and there was like a stone here in the middle that went across, but, and then there was also some brick steps over on this side, close to where this window was. That's where some other steps were. So there's brick in there, there's concrete in there, there's all kinds of stuff in there. So, a lot of it, and this picture here, the wall itself, this was like concrete, original concrete, and then another wall was put on top of that, and there was a seam that was cut out here where the original steps were, and there's cracks all around it, and there's leaching and all kinds of stuff, and it was just really fundamentally crumbling. And, I'd like to be able to keep the original, but it just wasn't wouldn't possibly do that, I don't think, with the structure itself being in jeopardy, because the foundation is really supported by the porch.
Only thing what I would say is that, you know, I know you got permission to take the steps out, but the actual whole porch, before you would do something like that and demo something, you would need to get permission to do that before you actually demo it.
Okay.
Now, the permission can come either from the board, or, you know, if it's a safety issue, then the building inspector can actually tell you to take it out.
Okay, well, I apologize, I didn't
Just-
realize, I thought when I got the permission to take the steps out, it was,
Yeah, I'm just educating you on that, just so you understand that. It's, you know, that's kind of, you know, an important
okay,
part of
I
this.
apologize, I didn't realize.
It's all right. I want the board to know, and I want it on record, so it's
Yeah.
it's there. But you know,
Okay.
it's just kind of the same thing we talked about, John. You know,
Yeah.
last week. So
Well, to me, this seems, rather than a demo and a rebuild, it's more like just a very, very extensive repair and replacement of what is there. So, I mean, I don't see how the board can have any kind of problem with this. You're just making it all new again,
Yeah.
essentially just the way it was.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just want to clarify one thing. The steps you're moving and the left-hand side of the steps will be in alignment with that west wall. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to do that because of property encroachment.
Right, right.
I'm getting a variance, I have scheduled with the zoning board to get the setback variance next meeting, so that will be taken care of for them to participate. So I do have that on the schedule, I'm on the, I think I'm on the agenda for that.
any other questions?
I have a question. So, the retaining wall has already been replaced with a brand new retaining wall in front of this property.
Yes, and again, because the front corner, and if you go by, the bricks were kind of chipping off, and there was, this
Yeah, I
part
understand.
underneath it was crumbling, and I thought, well, I don't want that to continue, so I
So,
had to put it back up in there with the foundation wall.
so the brand new retaining wall and bedding that you put in for the new concrete porch, are you gonna demo that new stuff and then move the steps over? Because it looks to me like, it's, with the new retaining wall, it stretches all the way across the width of the house.
It's the same footprint as what the other wall was.
It's the same footprint
Same
as the other
footprint, exactly.
walls.
This footprint here, this, part of it here and this all the way across is the exact same footprint that was replaced, right on the same foundation. So it's not changed dimensions at all. We'll set the railing the same distance, it'll be hopefully about the same height. It's the same black.
Are you gonna utilize the railing that
The
you
railing
removed?
there was it's bent, it's rusted, it was already wobbling, the water support broken off when they were removed from the porch. So it's probably not usable at all.
Oh, yeah.
It's severely damaged with rust and just.
So you won't be using the old railing that you removed?
No, but we're getting something as close to that as we possibly can. It'll be black and it'll be more code, which will be, the spindles will be closer together because the old one doesn't have, they were too far apart, they were too low, and it just didn't meet code. The building inspector, when he inspected, probably wrote that up in his report that the railing there was not by code.
So you're looking then at 36-inch height for the railing?
Yes.
And then are you also considering using the posts that you're picturing here?
Well, these were just what the company had, but actually it would just be a smaller post, it'd be a round post with just a small top line. Very similar to what we have here right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it'll be aluminum, it won't be iron rock.
It'd be aluminum, black aluminum, right, black paint.
So you don't really need the demo part of this,
Well,
because you've already demoed it, you've replaced it with a new retaining wall and rock and all the bedding. The only thing left to put on top now is a concrete slab.
yes, sir. And I guess I pleaded John Heiss. I
It's
thought I
already
had,
been
you know,
done.
permission to do that, but I guess I should have come first.
I'm just looking at the description, project description, so the demo has already been done. And a new retaining wall, most of the porch is already in place.
From what I saw today from a site visit, just to go back and revisit it, everything except for the steps on the concrete portion has been redone.
So they're gonna cut out that west corner and put steps?
It is already cut out, currently waiting on approval to put the steps in
I
place.
understand, okay. Got no further questions.
Yeah, the steps will be similar to what the others were, be the same elevation, same number. It just will be moved over the 3 or 4 feet from that, because the property owner had to do it. Just had to do it.
And you had already put in a retaining wall before you had found out that you were encroaching on the neighbor's property?
No, the previous owner did. The previous owner put a new retaining wall and a new step on that same footprint that the old picture there shows. He just patched it up. And we didn't, I mean, he did that before we bought it, so we couldn't tell him what to do, but we didn't like the look of it. You know, it's got a new patch on the side, and all the rest of it's older. It looked, I mean, nothing against the former one, but it looked terrible.
So,
And-
Coleman, I think you may be right, but this isn't really a demo, this is a repair. And replace, he's just replacing the steps in it, he's just moving the steps in essence with the repair.
Well, you redid the whole porch though.
Did, but that's
Repair.
a repair, that's what you call repair.
Yeah, no, I
rather
agree.
than-
Yeah.
Rather than a demo, so, you know, I'm not sure that it's the demo as much as it's a repair.
If I may disagree with you for a
You sure
moment,
can.
because technically, the footprint is changing.
That's why it would be a demo.
That's why it's a demo.
Because of the steps, correct?
Correct.
Just because
It changes the footprint.
Okay.
In defense of the previous owner, he put the steps, he repaired them where they were originally. and
But the
he
steps
didn't-
were on someone else's property.
Someone's home. He didn't do the survey when he first bought the property, he just took it as is.
Okay.
And I did the survey, so.
Yeah, it's a technicality, yeah. All right. Any other questions from the board? Any questions, comments from the audience? All right, hearing none, Jerome, you want to take us through findings of fact?
Sure. Nope, okay. Portraits are often the most defining characteristic of a historic house. In most cases, historic portraits should be retained, maintained, and if needed, repaired. New portraits should be consistent with the historic appearance of the building to which they are attached. In most cases, historic portraits visible from the street should be retained and maintained. Portraits on the primary facade should not be enclosed. Through the screening is appropriate if the structural framework for the screening is minimal. Wood framing is preferred, though anodized aluminum framing is acceptable. Structurally appropriate. Number 2, as far as your construction work is concerned. Okay, let's see. Wood porches, wood trellises. Is there another page on that?
That's it on porches. It goes to
The
columns and railings,
Okay,
yeah.
so now the residential guidelines, columns and railings, page 60, porch columns and railings should be preserved and maintained if repair is required, use materials to match original dimensions and detailing columns, often columns, so I guess that's it on that.
But we have, one more page if you want to take a look at this.
So front porch railings require replacement balusters or newel posts. These are readily available. Ball top newel posts are best for Queen Anne or folk Victorian porches. V-groove posts. V-groove posts are acceptable for Queen Anne, folk Victorian, and American 4-square foot porches. They are generally 4 feet in length and 4 inches in width. No spindles are appropriate for Queen Anne and folk Victorian porches. Square balusters of the same dimensions are suitable for American 4-square and colonial revival porches. On the left example, original porch railing should be rebuilt rather than removed to avoid conflicts with building code. Today's building codes generally require the tops of the railings to be at least 36 inches above grade, which is often too high for historic porches. Of course, if a new porch is necessary, consider raising the grade through landscaping, so on and so forth. And that page? No, that's it.
Then demo. Yeah, go for the demo.
Sorry, meeting.
Okay, buildings that contribute to the historic residential character of the historic district neighborhoods are irreplaceable physical evidence of Madison's past. The loss of any historic building affects not only the individual building, but the surrounding landscape. Demolition may be appropriate if the building does not contribute to the historic character of the district. Applicants for demolition should explore possibilities for selling or reusing historic buildings, preferably on site, but also in other locations as an alternative to demolition. Demolition may be appropriate if the denial of the demolition will result in demonstrable economic hardship on the owner. Moving a building from its historic location will be approved only if other alternatives are reviewed. Demolition by neglect occurs when a building is allowed to deteriorate through lack of maintenance. It is self-imposed hardship that will not be, it is a self-imposed hardship that will not be considered a mitigating circumstance when determining economic hardship.
So it's the reason for demolition.
The reason for demolition is
You feel like that what he's done.
oh, yes,
Fix
yes,
that.
yes. I feel like the demolition that has been done on the existing porch and the replacement of the new retaining wall is appropriate mitigating factor to the deteriorated front porch.
Thank you.
Tom?
So we're combining the two, the demolitions. I agree for the same reasons.
I agree for different reasons. As I've said, I just view this as a very expensive repair that I don't even think we need to okay it. But, so, bottom line, I agree.
Yeah, I agree for the same reasons as well. That will accept the motion.
Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that the Madison Historic District Board of Review grant a certificate of appropriateness to David Cheatham and Amy Cheatham Eberwine.
Everyone, that's my daughter.
For the proposed demolition of the existing porch and railings and new concrete construction of a new front porch with aluminum railings, height of 36 inches. And this includes the relocation of the new steps approximately 2 to 3 feet to the east from the current location on the west side of the porch.
Do you have a second?
Located at 816 West
I thought you said that in front of somebody.
First Street.
Yeah. Do you have a second?
I second.
Jerome second. Brooke?
Jerome Vernon,
Approved.
Owen McCall,
Approve.
Josh Wilbur,
Approved.
and Thomas Stark.
Approved.
All right, with that, you'll get a certificate of appropriateness in the mail, and you can begin the rest of your construction as long as you have the right permits. So,
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your understanding on things.
thank you. All right, our next application is 310 Broadway Street.
I'm Susie Hollinger. This is Larry Childress. He's been my contractor for about 2.5 years. He rescued me from some inadequate contractors. And do you ask me questions or do I?
Nope, Brooke's gonna go through your application, and at that point, we'll let you add to it if you'd like.
Great, thank you.
So this application is concerning a circa 1860, 19th century functional, zoned historic district residential. The COA request is to amend 2018 COA and add one faux balcony made of iron and reclaimed wood, to install vinyl windows on the existing openings of the north facade. And so if we look at the current pictures of that northern facade, you can see several windows have been infilled with wood, Currently, just to note, the prior COA application made approval to put doors in these openings where the faux balconies would be installed. And the application has now changed to include windows rather than the doors. These are more pictures of that north facade of the building. And this is an example, or actually one of the actual windows. Ms. Hollinger has already ordered the windows and does have them currently in a storage, I would say. So they are 2x2 vinyl windows. And that is all I have.
For vinyl window?
Yeah, let me explain that. I did call, all the windows on the north side of that building are all vinyl windows. They were that way when we purchased the building. And when we got ready to continue with what had been approved in 2018, Bill Peckinpah with Kentuckiana Contractors was the person that presented for the historic board at that time. I do not remember that he was asking for doors. I'm not sure why he would have been asking for doors, because there's not enough room because of the alley being there for us to extend the balconies out far enough for doors to really be conducive, or for anyone to be able to support weight on those balconies, which is why we were doing the faux balconies. So I did call last fall when we were ready to order the windows, and I was told, well, she looked it up on the historic board, because I told her they had been approved in 2018. I just wanted to make sure that it was okay to order vinyl. Since the other windows were all vinyl, I thought it would be okay. She said, okay, let me check. She looked at the historic board notes and said there was no notation as to what the material needed to be. And I said, so is it okay then to go ahead with the vinyl? And I was told it was okay. And that's why we did go ahead and order the very expensive atrium windows, top of the line as far as insulation. They are black, they are on the second story. And Larry will be wrapping the the trim and the frame on the outside with aluminum. So I can't imagine that anybody will ever notice or know that they are vinyl, mostly because of the quality, and they are very high-end vinyl windows. And I had been given permission to get them. So when that became a controversy about 2 months ago, or a month ago, I guess it was, I was told that she thought that I was replacing the existing windows with vinyl. And I said, no, there's nothing wrong with those windows. There would have been no reason for me to replace them. And she says, well, it doesn't really matter because that was for doors. And I said, I can't imagine why Bill was putting doors there that opened out onto an alley. I did not realize they were doors. I thought they were windows mostly for fire escape, because they will be coming, one of them will be coming off of a bedroom. And I think, did you say that only one balcony had been approved? And there was supposed to be faux balconies actually on 4 windows. We're not asking to do the 4th window yet, just because of the expense of everything. Later on down the road, I'll come back and beg permission to do that again. But right now, we're trying to add downtown housing in this upper level of the building, and so that's why we're attempting to do these 3 openings right now. So it's kind
Can we go back to the picture of the building and where you're going to be putting these
Sure.
windows in,
Sure.
and take us through?
Sure, you can
exactly
kind of see, it's going to be here, here, and here,
Okay, yeah.
all where there were openings. The windows have been custom made to fit each specific opening. The balconies have not been made yet. Larry will be building those out of iron and reclaimed wood, very similar to what we have on the front post. Brooke, could you show the front of the building for a minute, please? Now, well, because of this SUV, you can't see it. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this building, but we did add the reclaimed wood hitching post because there originally had been posts there. And then on the side of the building, there's reclaimed wood posts that are, cemented into the foundation, and also iron, rods that go across, trying to stay with the character that the building used to be a little bit stable. So that same look, although you can't really see either one of them very well, you can see them in the drawings. Do you have an architectural drawing, Brooke? You can see,
They may be on the prior application, let me take a look at them.
We're in those, we're on that photo. Or do you plan on, installing the faux balcony?
The top ones.
here,
Where the three windows are coming from.
here, and then over here.
So so the application is to install three.
Three faux balconies and three windows.
This is as.
Now, those windows at the bottom,
Yes, those are all vinyl.
those are vinyl?
Yes, they
They're
are.
vinyl clad or vinyl?
Vinyl.
They are vinyl. And then you can see, well, where Larry painted to make them look a little bit larger because the structure is so large, we were trying to balance that out. So to get a similar look up here on the windows, he will be wrapping that in aluminum. So it will have all the appearance of aluminum windows. There just was a very big expensive misunderstanding as to what I was allowed to order.
So Suzanne, your windows at the top are gonna be, they're black trim,
They're black.
and the ones at the
They
bottom.
are all black.
Huh?
They are all black.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is the ones at the bottom are white, looks like they're white
Right,
trim.
and
So
as soon as I can find a paint that will adhere to that, I'll be
You're gonna make them black?
those
Okay.
black as well. Since, now, on the front of the building, I don't know if we can switch back to that, Larry, because it
Because those
faces
are all-
Broadway, Larry did rebuild all of these windows that had decayed, and they all have been rebuilt in black and restored. So, and they are truly black. They still have all the original glass, the wavy glass, and it was quite a project to get those rebuilt, and he did a great job.
They're real good.
May I say something, please?
Yes.
All right, I've been a contractor in this town for a long time, I can vouch for that, you know, we've come before the boards at different times, and about every time I've been through the board, there's been a different board here. So, each time, you know, I've installed vinyl windows at homes here that have been approved by different boards in the past, it's just been 7 years ago. And I've also put aluminum clad windows in, and I've also put wood windows in. The windows, vinyl windows that I've installed are not cheap, they are top of the line, big window company I've used. The ones now are atrium windows, which carry a lifetime guarantee against breakage, glass breakage. They don't fool with it. If you break the glass, they call them, they send you a new frame, you set the whole framing system in. And I've seen it happen time and time again. From a distance, from 15 foot away, you can't tell where it's a vinyl or aluminum clad window. It's that high a quality window.
Yeah, the reason why is our guidelines do not,
And that is why I called, because I've been to, back when we were doing the very beginning, I was here, and I remember hearing the whole stories about vinyl clad and your window restrictions.
well, the
And that's
interesting
why I
thing is
did
the
call
vinyl
to
clad
ask.
is a lot different than just all vinyl, right? So you get vinyl clad, which means it's clad to wood, usually it's a wood interior, and you got the vinyl on the outside,
But the
right?
thing with this, you can't tell the difference. on the
Are
inside.
they vinyl clad, or
They're vinyl.
They're completely vinyl, so that means they're vinyl on the inside and outside, which, you know, just.
the bottom, yeah, the ones
The other
that were
ones-
already there?
Yeah, and the other ones, we usually approve aluminum clad, obviously, and then wood windows. Now, if there's vinyl that was there before, then our guidelines allow vinyl to replace vinyl. The same material to replace, that's why I'm asking some of the questions I'm asking, just to make sure that, does that fit the guidelines? Right?
We just don't know what was there before, because
Right.
there's no pictures there.
But there's
before.
vinyl on the other side ones, and there's wood in the front, right?
Right.
So.
So we've tried to follow along, and, in retrospect, I don't know what I did wrong, because I did call and ask for permission.
You called at the city. When you say you called somebody, you want somebody to
And it was looked up what the decision was made at the historic board in 2018. And I was told that no material was specified, and so it is okay to go ahead and get the vinyl, because I would not have spent the $2,500 to get those 3 windows had I not been told it was okay. And I don't want to get anybody in trouble, because I know you all work so hard to get the city the way it looks. And I respect you for that, and I've told everybody I know how nice it is because of what you do. So I don't wanna get anybody in trouble.
Oh, no, this isn't about trouble. This is just only to make sure we understand the facts and the details.
Yeah, I knew what the facts were, and that's why I called to ask. And so now I don't know what to do.
That's all right. So Brooke, with the prior approval that was provided, did you look at that to see if it did specify material or not?
Okay, so on the 2018 COA,
Yep.
it does not address windows, period.
Okay.
I have
Because
a
it just
copy of
addressed
that.
doors. That's why.
It addresses, yes, doors, and 2 of the 3 faux balconies. So 2 were approved.
2 were approved. Okay.
2
So
were
that's why-
approved. There's, on these current plans, there are plans for 3. And then it addressed coach lighting by the first story entries, and then adding limestone to the existing limestone seal.
Okay.
Windows were not
Okay.
addressed.
Okay, so windows weren't addressed, and that's why you only have one, on this application, there's only one faux balcony, because you only have two approved.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So,
Okay, now
so you
that-
have 2 faux balconies already approved, so we don't need to approve all 3, we just need to
Okay,
be
that, I
looking at approving
misunderstood
one
how
more,
that happened.
right?
Okay, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yep, that's why. So, that helps me a great bit, with, trying to understand this, so. Any other questions from the board?
Well, I have a point of clarification, okay, I remember when Bill Peckinpah was here before, and
Yeah, good memory.
thanks. So what Bill explained to us, when you were saying you didn't understand how the balconies could stick out over an alley.
Well, not enough that a door would be able to open.
Right, well, in looking that over, he had drawn kind of with a pen and ink. And these balconies that he was describing were not sticking out, they were inset. It's like he was going to have the walls pushed in, and the door was gonna be at the back of that newly created void. They were gonna be inset, 6 feet.
Specifications on that.
Wow. I can't even visualize what that would look like.
Now, maybe looking at his hand drawing, maybe I misinterpreted it, but that was in my notes at the time.
That could probably why he's had so many lawsuits brought against him for his work that he's doing in the past.
You know, I can't even visualize what that would look like.
I thought it was bizarre at the time,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, did you find the drawing of what the new architect has drawn?
Well, I never did get those.
Didn't
I
you?
have the 2018 application with the drawings that were submitted.
Oh, we don't
Um,
have them.
With the new application, there were no drawings to show the faux balconies, so we were going off of the 2018.
Oh, I apologize, I carried those pictures with me for 2 years to everywhere now, and all of a
So,
sudden it's
so what was
important.
approved would not be what you're thinking you want to do.
It was not.
I mean,
6
because you're talking
feet.
about,
It was
faux
not-
balcony would be usually external.
Right, comes up about this far,
You've only got 2
like
foot.
the ones you
Yeah.
see on
So
Main
it's,
Street.
Right.
the depth is what, 24 inches, did you say?
Yeah, like the ones you see on
Right,
Main
right.
Street.
I know what you're probably
Yeah.
mentally thinking, because that's what I'm mentally thinking.
Because that architect had them drawn very nicely, and I guess I'm wrong in assuming that.
They
we
just
had
come
that.
out just a little
They
bit.
were in with the building permits, when the
So-
building permits were submitted a couple months ago.
I can
I
I can take a few minutes and pull that up if you would like, but what I have for the 2018 is it says 2 8-foot wide by 6-foot deep balconies. And this is the drawing that was submitted. And I can pass
And
that.
yeah, pass that.
6 foot,
And that is part of the application packet that was online.
6 feet, yeah.
that would have looked really
Well, it's not really determinable by looking at that, whether they're inset into the building or.
Well, but here's a direct quote, 2 porches inset, close quote.
Porches inset.
Yeah.
That means that's what he was wanting to do, is 2 8-foot wide by 6 foot deep, so it's 6 foot inset.
I know, I took over right after he was
Yeah,
leaving.
he
Yeah.
saved me.
She was always talking about doing a whole balcony here. not said anything what he was talking about. And we had to do a lot of corrections on what that he had done there.
So the Juliet balconies then will not, they will not bear weight of a human
No,
being?
they're for decorative looks only.
Okay.
And they're gonna be the same width as the window.
Yes. Matter of
Well,
fact,
and didn't they go out like 3 or 4 inches on the side?
they will be
To
frames
secure,
on
but
the
they
outside,
have,
nice and
they
frame.
have to secure to
That's what
the
it's-
basis.
it's- That'll be wrapped in metal, and actually the metal will come in and partially wrapped over the existing metal frames.
It will be,
Yeah,
will be
yeah.
wrapped in aluminum.
I also have this photograph, or this drawing, if that would help as well. That was on the 2018.
What I do is, when I saw them in this,
Well, yeah, this is a little more, I get it.
yeah.
That was from the 2018 application, that was another drawing.
Huh.
Yeah, it shows
So it
doors
looks like
and
they were,
stuff.
he was trying to suggest like a sleeping porch. It would be recessed.
Wow, that's so wide, I
Yeah.
can't
Oh, yeah.
imagine.
You
That,
can
I mean,
see the
because there
features.
wasn't an existing opening that wide.
Well, he would have had to remove a lot of brick as
Oh, I
well.
didn't think we would be allowed to do that.
Well, it wouldn't be recommended, yeah.
Yeah, structurally, I think that would have been.
It could. So he's, you know how on apartment buildings they have recessed patios or balconies? That looks like that's what he's suggesting.
I thought.
That got approved?
Yep.
Yeah, what?
I thought if we had to stay within the openings
You
that
do.
were originally.
That's
there,
recommended,
And
yes.
that's what we were really.
What
trying
was
to do.
here was approved back then.
Oh, wow.
Now, so what you're asking for now changes that up.
Mhm.
Even the faux balcony, it changes the whole idea of a faux balcony up, so I do think we have to look at all three, we can't look at just one.
Well, the way he's got it drawn here, you would have to take those steel frames out, that are there.
Yeah, I agree, I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm just, you know.
They are quarter-inch thick steel frames around these windows.
Yeah.
The whole roof would fall in and everything.
Yeah,
Well, yes, a whole structural wall.
right, so, I think that, you know, it's just a matter of, you know, I think what we take into account is, and
We're
correct me if
gonna
I'm wrong,
hide this time almost.
is these 3 windows that they're proposing, and then the 3 faux we'll have to do all 3 faux balconies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, thank you. Any other questions from the board? And everybody caught on the board that the faux balconies will be a little bit wider than the windows, they'll come up over the window sills a little bit so they see them. But
And
they
they
will
are
not be
being
weight
made
bearing.
out of iron.
How tall?
And what was
Don't they have to be
the,
36 inches, I think, to code?
Okay.
Mhm.
what's the elevation from the wall coming in?
Well, we're restricted because we can't get into the alley pathway. There's just a little strip of.
They probably won't protrude out 2 foot.
Are we, no, so you said maximum 2 feet?
Maximum is 2 foot, that's what there is to the alley. But we probably will not go that far, because you go out that far, they may get knocked off by a garbage truck or something else. So it's always trying to stay back,
Like, see, like 15 inches, something like that?
it'll be a short distance, it won't be out just enough to get full balcony look effect to it and get everything wrapped.
I think you said 24 inches, right? In
That's
depth.
the
That would be the most.
That would be the maximum.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, any questions, comments from the audience? All right, hearing none. Owen, you wanna take us through plans and back on this one?
I'll give it a shot.
Really not too many elements, we just had to go through.
Okay.
Oh,
Stand up.
No, it's Owen.
Oh, okay. Thought you said you're on. Yeah, I'm blind in one eye and I can't hear out of one ear.
Okay, so original one should be preserved, if these are not original, we're not talking about adding any. Number 2. Number 3, they should be replaced, but what's there is final, and what's being put in place is staff approved vinyl, even though vinyl, but maybe we should call this aluminum clad vinyl.
Yeah,
Which I
it
never.
kind of is, yeah.
That's a new one, okay, so it's aluminum clad vinyl, which is not addressed in our guidelines because I don't think that ever existed before. Okay, so, number 4, original metal windows, not appropriate, snap-on muntins, we're not talking about. Actually, what are the, muntins? How many, is this 2/2?
Yes.
2/2, and the
Double.
muntins are internal?
Pardon?
The muntins, are they internal, snap-on, external?
Not understand.
There are
The
no
parts
bars.
that separate the panes.
That's, vinyl.
But is it exterior between two panes of glass? What type is it?
It's all, everything, all things vinyl, but it's high grade of vinyl between the glass. And I think it's,
Can you pull out that picture of the window?
I don't have,
The mechanisms to operate it are on the inside.
It's hard to tell.
So
Yeah.
sometimes,
There's a bar
they'll do
here.
internal and external muttons to separate, and then sometimes they do them actually in between the
No,
glass.
you're
No,
talking
they
about-
aren't, these are, like, this is two separate
that's what-
sections.
well, it's all made in one. This one is a double window.
Right.
Okay, so what they're asking,
Oh, it's a
Larry, I
double
think, is
window,
if
yeah,
this
it's fine.
thing and this thing are set within, but this goes up and down, so this has to be separate.
It's
I
only-
think they're
it's only on
asking
the
if
side.
this
Right.
is.
Yeah,
Sure.
so is it between the two, the,
The mulligan in between the vinyl.
it's,
I
okay,
know,
in
it's
between the two
between the
panes.
glass.
Okay, it's not on the exterior of the glass, separation basically.
Yes, it is vinyl. Our windows don't vinyl.
We know it's fine. We want to know, where is it?
Is it?
If you go up there in a lift truck, can you touch vinyl or are you touching glass?
It's where you want to touch.
The
You're
muntin.
So-
Touch the muntin.
Those
This right here.
those
Larry, is
crossbars,
what you're
that's a
talking
we,
about.
I know, but we can't touch it. Whenever I do that, we'll be touching glass.
You'll be touching vinyl.
Fine,
The
okay.
glass,
It's exterior to
the
the
glass is in here is all glass.
Yes.
And this side here, around here, through here, is all vinyl.
Okay.
Yes.
High grade of
So
vinyl.
that means that the glass is.
Are these double pane? I mean, these are
They're thermal paint.
thermopane. Okay.
They're northern windows. These windows are meant to be installed before north.
Okay, so you have two panes of glass. Is the muntin, is the vinyl muntin in between those two panes of
think it's
glass?
metal.
Now, that's metal.
Yeah, I think that the part in between is metal. I'm not
Okay,
sure.
all right.
I'll have to go
Well,
back to my contract.
That's not
I'll
really
try to find that.
what we care about. We want to know that, whether it's metal or vinyl or whatever it is that glued on the exterior of that glass or snapped on, or is it in between the
It's
two
sealed.
thermopanes?
There's a piece,
If it helps, I'm only 5 minutes
I'll have to
away,
go
and
back
I'll
to
run
my
down and look real quick, and you can
some
go
of
on
it
to
is
the next
vinyl
page.
piece there, but I think
If
these,
that
they
helps.
have a metal clad in between there. I don't know for sure.
Mhm.
It holds all, it's all bonded together.
Right.
Larry, if we wanna let him go on to the next case, I can run down and look, or you can run down and look, we're just 2 blocks down the road.
Is it two windows?
Yeah, there's two separate windows there, but they're,
Okay, so
but they've
there is
got a
no,
mulligan in between.
there is no muntin.
Right, it's
You
two,
said they're 2/2, which means there has to be at least one muntin in each one.
Yeah.
Is it 2/2?
no, it's 2 separate windows that are built.
May I clarify?
Yes.
Yeah, help
Mine-
us, Brooke.
Give it that
These
false
are
spin
not
over.
2/2 windows in the historic sense.
Oh.
They have the look of 2/2 windows. These are not actual muntins. This is a vinyl piece that is put in to make it appear as if it is a 2/2.
In
If that
between the
helps
glass,
answer.
correct?
Correct.
Oh,
So
that's
that's
what we-
what to answer your
I
question.
want you to understand what you're saying, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you sound like you've seen them.
Well, based on the pictures and from what the research I've done on this, they are internal
Okay.
with the appearance
That
of.
is the answer to the question, thank you.
Oh.
Okay.
I thought they were on the outside, so we got all this. I
So
didn't know
they're
what.
vinyl 2/2 internal muntins, okay, great.
But if
So-
it does make a big difference, I will run down and look.
Well, I think we have our answer, so
Okay.
just stay
Okay.
here. So-
Okay.
All right, so we are going back to the finding of facts.
Two skinny windows side by side.
Okay, snap-on muntins, that's where number 5, snap-on muntins. We don't like them, but we don't have them here, so 5 is satisfied,
Okay.
okay? 6, we're not talking about screens or storms, these are, double pane, so I guess you don't really need it. What, Wait a
Oh,
minute.
sorry.
7 security bars, there are no security bars, so that's, okay. All right, so the windows, it seems like, that the proposal does satisfy the, guidelines with regard to windows. Okay. Porch columns and railings, okay, they should be preserved, but this is gonna be new, so there's nothing to preserve. 2 is not applicable, 3. Wrought iron, okay, so yours are gonna be, you say the wrought iron, or what type of iron?
They're iron posts, you don't have a good picture of what we've done so far, but they're just iron posts, kind of,
They're tubular posts.
Yeah.
yeah, just
Tubular.
iron.
But they are iron, they're not
Yes.
aluminum?
Right, no, they're not aluminum, they're iron, just because I'm trying to stay with what was available at that time the building was built. I don't think they had
Oh,
aluminum.
you're just picking something that's period appropriate.
Right,
Okay.
that's what I'm trying to say,
Just
the words
steel-
just didn't come out.
Just steel pipes.
Steel pipe, okay, all right, so when they talk about wrought iron, front porches, we're not talking about front porches, which is 3. These are on the side, and this is, of course, an industrial style building, so these are residential guidelines here. We really kind of need, I guess you don't have porches on a commercial building, so the guidelines actually don't directly, aren't written for this case specifically, but this is what we have to go by. Okay, front porch is not what it is, so number 4 doesn't apply. Number 5, talking about the various styles, but I think number 5 is satisfied because you are trying to pick a style that is appropriate to that building, to the time and the purpose of that building.
It was one of the original livery stables in the city.
Right, okay. And original porch railing should be rebuilt, but 6 doesn't apply because these are new. Okay, is there something beyond 6?
No.
Okay, so residential guidelines, porch columns, to me, seems to be, the proposal seems to be consistent with our guidelines. Okay.
That's the 2 things we have.
How about windows?
You just did
did
those.
those.
We did that first. Okay. All right, stop me before I get an endless loop.
You make me worry. Sorry.
Okay.
Jerome?
I agree for the same reason.
Tom?
So, can we document that, the Juliet balconies and the vinyl windows were pre-approved? Because if this was a new application that came tonight, I could not approve the balconies because they're faux, they would not have originally been on the north side. And the windows, we don't approve vinyl. However, from what I'm hearing, they've been pre-approved.
If I may comment on that, just to make note of it, there is a dispute as to whether there was approval for the vinyl windows. So I just want to make note of that.
Can I finish, add to that? When I did call and I asked, I said, I was told when I called in the fall that the vinyl was approved, then the architect submitted the building drawings, I guess, for the rest of the building project, the interior project, not just the exterior. And she said,
When you say she, who's you talk to?
I really don't want to.
I know what we need to know.
I really don't want to. I don't get anybody in trouble.
Well,
I-
but we don't know who she is.
Including myself.
So, okay.
But, anyway, so she said, let me look it up, and she said there was no, originally, when I asked back in the fall, before I ordered them, she said, there is no notation as to what the material would be. So I would say it's okay to go ahead and order that. I did say the rest of the windows on that side of the building are vinyl. And then later on, when Brooke called me and the plans had been submitted to her, that the architect had turned in, what was that, maybe 2 months ago, 6 weeks ago, and she said, we have a concern about the windows being vinyl, and I said, look, I know that normally they aren't, but I did get them pre-approved. So then the other person called me and she said, I thought you were calling to replace the existing vinyl windows. That's what I was approving. And I said, I don't know why I would be wanting to replace those because they're in perfect condition. I've never asked to replace those. I only asked to put the windows in the openings upstairs on the second floor. So, and she says, no, that was for doors. And I said, that was a long time ago, and Bill Peckinpah made so many mistakes that I really don't remember there being doors, and I can't imagine why it would be doors, because they would be opening onto the alley. I don't remember anything about the balconies being set in 6 feet, or why that would even look right. Because I've worked really, really hard to try to get the buildings to be authentic and in age appropriateness of materials, and still look good, and be conducive to residential housing, which is so needed downtown. So, yes, I know she doesn't feel like she's told me that, but I would never have gone out on a limb to ask, because I've been to historic board meetings before, and I know what the requirements are, so I would never have told Larry to go ahead and order them and pay $2,500 for them had I not gotten permission.
Well, I understand it, and I appreciate you wanting to keep the anonymity, but that really makes a difference for me that you're not telling us who. I mean, 'cause I can't say I'm part of this, so.
Well, I rely on her help for a lot of things. So
I understand.
don't
I understand. Tom, you have
So,
a comment on?
well, I just don't, I mean, if it's been pre-approved,
Well, we don't know that. it
we
has.
don't know that, then, you know, I mean, adding the faux balconies creates a sense of false historic development. So I don't think that those would be appropriate on that site. They would look nice, but I just don't think they're appropriate, and I don't think our guidelines support that. And our guidelines definitely do not support vinyl windows, so I guess I disagree for those
But
reasons.
the balconies were approved, weren't they?
Different.
What,
What was
because
approved,
they
what-
were inset?
What was approved was different than what you're asking. So I think, you know, for me, I think with Tom, I agree certainly with balconies. In an alley like that, it would be very difficult, and possibly cause some issues there as well.
Can you expand on that issue?
Yeah, with traffic
Someone
coming
driving
through.
up work on someone's head, or what do you mean?
I mean, with traffic coming through the alley.
Well,
Trucks, different
There's
trucks.
something that you might not be aware of, and
But-
I
but
think
also-
maybe Larry forgot about it, and there's electrical wires that come down. So I think all of those trucks know to be, that only certain height trucks can go through there because of all the electrical wires that swoop down, and they swoop much lower than what these balconies are.
So there's
So
no way a
they
truck
would
is
knock
gonna
down
clip one of these
electrical wires
balconies.
before they would hit the
Right.
balconies.
Okay, so.
But my,
yeah,
but my issue is that installing faux balconies where there were none
Right.
creates that false sense of development in that period.
But then how did the other ones get approved, I wonder, the ones that were inset, or what if we put them flush
They were
against
asking for
the
doors for one.
building? Pardon me?
They were asking for doors. The prior application had doors up there, not windows. And the doors opened up and there was just a steel bar right there. I mean, so you couldn't get over. So there was no external structure. It was all
So what if we just did
symmetrical
that
to the
again?
building. Huh?
What if we did that again and inset the windows a tiny bit? My worry is if there's windows and there's children up there, and there's nothing out there to keep them in, they can open those windows and fall out.
Well, isn't that true in the front?
No, with those windows, you've got plexiglass behind it so that they can't open the windows and fall out.
Is all there, but
And the one window on the north side, that's the fire exit, they jump out onto Henderson's carport.
I don't.
Well, and you can always put a invisible storms, you know, one-piece storms that would stop any child, if that's really what you're worried about, or just disable. I mean,
Well, they have to be able to open for
Yeah.
fire escape because then,
but there's no fire escape.
You can use a chain link,
Mhm.
chain ladders, which is what she's gonna have today, the chain ladders, keep her good.
Mhm.
But there again, all your guidelines towards commercial guidelines that you're reading off of.
Not
not
residential.
Residential, not residential, not commercial buildings like that.
I agree.
So why not add something that's gonna add more character to your
I
town
agree.
and draw more tourists? Because right now, she is the #1 Airbnb in Madison.
Well, we can't take that into account, but,
But
okay.
So we've already been through our findings of fact.
No, we haven't.
You started it off.
I did?
Yes.
yeah, you did it all.
Can I make another comment?
You started it off. So we're at a point where we'll accept that motion.
can I add one quick thing? If we can't approve the external balconies, is there any way that you can approve us putting the railing within the window and then insetting the windows inward if we have to?
You're changing the application, then.
We have to look at the application.
So we would have to re-look.
Dimensions and all that sort of stuff.
I think that changes the application doing that at this point, because we've already gotten to the point.
So
where
if I have to tell you the person's name, does that make a difference?
no, I don't want to do that now. We've
Thank
already.
you. I mean, I really, really, really don't want to.
I know, and I don't want you to.
Okay.
So we'll I'll entertain a motion on this.
All right. I mean, I don't want to be the one to make all the motions. Am I dominating?
Hey, no,
I've been making just as
Tom's
many.
making.
Okay, all right. As long as y'all are okay with me talking so much.
It's fine.
Okay, based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that the Madison Historic District Board of Review grant a certificate of appropriateness to Suzanne Hollinger for the proposed Juliet-style balconies, 24-inch maximum extension beyond exterior wall. 3 of these. And approve the vinyl windows that already are in hand. But with the to the conditions specified in the findings of fact, which is these vinyl windows will actually be aluminum clad on top of the vinyl. So, yes.
They will be wrapped over, partially over the.
Oh,
frame.
The
Wrap.
exterior
It's not a whole
wrap,
room.
the
Wrap.
exterior wrap.
Not completely, but partially.
Yeah.
That's the way I install my windows. That way you don't, no caulking is ever exposed. The vinyl clad comes around and laps over the vinyl frame. So you're not afraid of deterioration.
Yeah. Do we have a
And
second
it then
for the
looks
motion?
like a movie.
Sorry, I guess not.
Mhm.
Do we have a second for the motion?
I second.
Okay. Brooke, you do roll call?
Owen McCall,
Approve.
Thomas Stark,
Do not approve.
Jerome Vernon,
Approve.
and Josh Wilbur.
Do not approve. Okay, so it does not, the COA does not get approved.
No, it is.
It is approved. I'll tell you what, I always get it mixed up with this thing. So your COA is approved, board, because we didn't have 4 not approved. So therefore you get, I know, but we have to have 4 votes that have to go against the application. And so we didn't have 4 votes go against it, so therefore the application is approved, and therefore you can move forward. with the
We
project.
can move forward.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Based on everything we discussed tonight.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
okay, thank you very much.
Anytime you want to come down, we'll talk.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. Our next application is 811 East 2nd Street. Did you get your nap in there?
I'd like to say mine's gonna get easier, but I can't say it. It's Michael Road at 1785 Owens Lane, Gordon, Indiana.
Perfect.
This home is a circa 1860 Italian, zoned historic district residential. COA request is to rebuild the rear addition on the same foundation, but 2 stories tall to replicate the duplex design, add wood windows and steel doors in the new openings to the newly built rear addition. You can see the current photo of the home on the left, and these are photos of the rear addition that has been built currently.
So I did it reverse. I thought it was doing it wrong earlier. They didn't ask for the demo. We got the demo approved because it was considered a dilapidated structure. The whole right side was falling off. So we rebuilt to the specs of a duplex. Come to find out, the neighbor told me that she had historical photos or had gone to the library, and that's not what the roof line looked like before. At that point, we stopped everything. I contacted Brooke on that, so that's kind of what we're asking, is just that we can move forward with it, because I guess the original roof line did not replicate what's built.
Was the original application for this to build it in accordance with the original historic structure, or what?
The original application was for demolition only.
Not to rebuild anything?
Correct. And actually, let me clarify, I'm sorry. The demolition was, approval was an unsafe structure declaration. It did not come before the board for demolition. I apologize.
Man, I didn't remember that. Okay. Okay, so you didn't have permission to build anything at that point, right? Except for building inspector giving a building permit, right? So
Yeah, I
you-
have the building inspector's building permit. He
Okay.
approved all that. I came up to the office and got all that.
So
Is
the
that
building
all?
inspector gave a building permit without the historic boards?
Yeah, because they said it was, it wasn't new construction, it was, how they worded it, we were.
I'm not sure why we're here.
I was not aware that there was a building permit for that addition. I knew there was a building permit for other work going on in the home. May I have a few minutes to pull
But
that up?
Devin, if a building inspector is given a building permit, doesn't that give permission from the city to build?
Yep.
And so then at this point, we wouldn't be here if that's the case, right? We have this. All right, so would you check? You said you have
I'm like it easy.
No, don't, I'm not
Sorry.
trying to.
No, right.
But if there's
I think
a
it's
building
hanging over the
permit
front window for
and
the
you have
porch
permission
area.
from the city to build, then your coming in front of us doesn't make sense at this point. You've already got the permission. So that's why I want to make sure.
Didn't you come before us a few months ago for the demo?
Yeah, I've been here twice, yeah.
But the building inspector gave
Demo and then the restoration of the windows.
And we redid the front porch, and I said, yeah, we were, because I've set Elder is looking at the window restoration.
It wasn't for the build.
No, I know.
Michael, do you remember, what approximate month you got the building permit? I mean, I can certainly search. I just wanted to make sure.
It's been a while.
Okay.
I think it's hanging in the window. Not,
It's all
I
right.
guess I could run like the last person, but I think it's still up in the front.
You're okay. We'll see if she can find it real quick. You know any good jokes that you can say?
At least
Okay.
I got the demolition right, unlike the last one. I just
Yes.
apparently
No,
didn't get the
it-
rebuild part
yeah.
right. So.
All right, so the building permit was issued, in July of 2021.
Yeah.
And it specifically states for a remodel of the fire damaged portion, HDBR not needed for the demolition. And let's see.
And that far right corner was what was burned. That was cool.
Yeah, so all it lists is remodel, for rear portion.
Cause you've had the building inspector out.
So, yeah, I want to say, so I want to hear from our attorney.
I was curious to your question. The building inspector's been out there a bunch?
Yeah, has the building inspector been out?
He is not, I mean, we just finished the construction portion of it and stopped everything when we were told it wasn't ready. So he gave us the original, said he was gonna come out after the construction was up.
Would you repeat that again?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know that was on. No, he has not come out yet, just because we got to this point until we stopped and we were told it wasn't conforming with what was done, so we didn't know if we were gonna have to take it down or what we're gonna do. So he has not been out.
So the
just-
building inspector hasn't come out and written all the little things?
So we have the application up in the window and all that. He told us to get this portion done, he was gonna come out once the construction was complete. So that's where we're at right now. We
So
literally just-
so a neighbor is what made you think that you needed to stop?
Yes, and that's when I because she said that roof line was not original to the house on the roof line.
Yeah. Well, if I remember correctly, it was just a single-story addition off the back, not a two-story.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we went, because it was a duplex, I assumed, shouldn't have assumed, I guess I should have did the research on it because it is listed as a duplex and everything on the front was replicated too.
But surely you saw the single story on the rear.
Well, the whole thing was burned up, I mean, there wasn't a lot.
Was it even enough left to be able to determine how many stories it was?
It's on the back, doesn't matter. I guess I can go, I mean, I'll have to look back through the pictures to see if we can determine it when we were building it.
It says remodel. I don't know why it's here.
It's ambiguous.
So in other words, he pretty much has the permission
Yeah,
by the city.
pretty much.
It's open,
Yeah. All right. So at this point, there is nothing that we can approve, not approve, because the building inspector already gave you permission to do what you've done. So at this time, the building, I understand, the building inspector, I would tell you that you probably need to get the building inspector out, have him look at it and make sure that they're giving you approval to move forward from here.
Okay, so the windows and stuff?
Okay.
That before I leave, or?
Well, I know that when I spoke to the current building inspector, there were no plans on file for this rear addition, period. That's why, my understanding of the previous building permit was for demolition only. Because there were no plans submitted for this rear addition to approve. And that's just my understanding, I'm not the attorney here, so, Devin, if it's, the building inspector hasn't approved it, then the windows and doors, if there's no plan submitted, how does that work?
So what's approved? That says remodel.
Correct, it says remodel and that's it. When the previous building inspector and I spoke about it, I have the letter, it was an unsafe structure declaration, period. And an interior remodel, so.
You're fine to continue your work. Check in with the building inspector.
Okay, just have to,
Yeah.
okay.
What about the questions though, what type of windows?
Because he's
I
been
don't-
given permission by
I
the building
think,
inspector.
I
to
think the
remodel.
building inspector issued a building permit, and that's what people come to this to get. He
So,
got it.
can we expect that kind of? I know, but I mean,
No, we shouldn't.
It's
This
something
should
that
not
I-
have happened,
yeah.
but legally he has the ability to build this structure. Well, he's built it, and now the building, it's all on the building inspector to take it.
Okay.
That's why it's not our fault at this point. But that's why we give a COA so they can go
Right,
forward with it and they get a
right.
building permit after they get the COA.
Yeah.
So,
And thanks for doing your work on this project.
yes.
It's a
Well,
really-
you know, I mean,
It's a really ugly property. when you come to town.
Well, we're trying to go through the right channel, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, at this point, yeah, get with the building inspector.
Okay, so do I need to do anything else on the wind? Do I have to come back?
No,
For
not-
some, you need
not
to
here.
contact the building inspector tomorrow and have him come out and inspect your work. so
Right,
far.
right. Like I said, we just stopped everything, but I
Yep.
thought, well, we're gonna have to.
Just go with the building inspector.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for
Sorry.
coming.
All right, thanks for.
All right, next application is 1001 West First Street.
How you doing? Ryan Rogers, 804 East First Street.
All right.
Didn't think about that. And I'm representing John
John,
Price.
okay. I was like, I know you don't like John. You know.
A little bigger.
He's slightly big.
This home is a circa 1840 federal /23 house zone historic district residential. The COA request is to demolish the existing single-story rear addition and build a new two-story addition with a side front porch. This is the current front facade of the building facing the north, and the eastern elevation showing that rear addition on the back. These are floor plans of the existing on the left, proposed on the right. The proposed front elevation. East elevation. West. And rear. And that's all I have.
Would you like to add anything to that?
No, I'll take your questions.
Good call, Ryan. Smart, no. Okay, so this structure in the back, it's single, it looks like it's single story, but you got almost like a basement that's a garage type
Correct.
underneath, right? Based on the grading and stuff, being able to do that.
Yeah.
The difference here for me is the width. You're gonna, I don't know, can I see I don't think I can see the other structure from the road. If we go back to the front of the house, I guess this is my question to you. So, if I'm looking, I guess I can. Is that part of it right there?
That's the corner.
That's the corner.
Yeah.
Okay, but go back to the other one. The house that's adjacent to it.
Different house.
That's a different house, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my thing is, when you build this other one, I'm gonna see part of this structure, this new structure on the side, on this left side. Okay. Is that an absolute necessity?
It is, in order to be able to fit in the living space he wants. Being downtown Madison, he's hoping to have a first floor master suite, as well as a decent sized kitchen and living room area. The upstairs, of course, will remain, but it's gonna be guest bedrooms. So to maintain enough living space, we need to go out to the side. And the porch does tie it in and make it look like other properties in Madison.
In an earlier rendition, it looked like you were changing the roof line on the historic structure. Was that just the way that was sketched out? It looks like it goes, like the pitch is higher.
I think that's perspective. We have no intention, or John has no intention of changing the original roof. Actually, Sonny Ash owned the house prior, and I think he just put a roof on it, so
Okay.
that'll be maintained. There's a little bit of a tie-in on the back, and the only reason for that is to install the new staircase.
What picture? I'm sorry, which one are you using?
The map.
Oh, the Sanborn?
Mhm.
I have it in the application. Let me get that pulled up for you.
One concern I have with the new addition is just the massing of it. Our guidelines usually like to see additions that are more simple. And this one, it's like double the size of the original house. So, and I understand, what you want to do in terms of living quarters. But Bert, do you have the overhead view of the new addition and the existing? That kind of shows the massing conflict that I have.
Right there. Yeah, so if you look at this, we're basically coming out about 9 feet here.
Yeah,
You have to remember this footprint is tight, very tight.
yeah.
It was a real challenge to even squeeze 2 bedrooms into the second floor. The overall width of this is 32 feet, which is standard 2-story house. That's kind of typical, 32 feet. So in order to be able to get a living space in a bedroom that would give you enough room to actually put a bed in, we had to go with a wider structure in order to get, a modern feel. John's going to put a significant amount of money into the project, so what I was trying to do was give him what he wanted.
Sure.
And tying into porch, the reason we pulled it forward like this is so that the massing of it did tie into the old structure and made it seem like it was supposed to be that way rather than just falling off the side of it. So if you look at the side elevation, I think look at the side elevation.
That one, or would you like another one?
Go to the
That's
next
the
one.
front, sorry.
See how this porch actually, you have a roof line coming towards the street, which traces the scale, and it gives you a porch off the front of it, you know, to give it a purpose, and it makes this seem a little bit smaller.
Bert, can you go back to where the new addition connects to the historic house so we can see, yeah. So you're leaving most of the wall then on the south side of the historic structure in place and utilizing one door opening. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is that an existing door or window opening that you're using there?
No, that would be a new opening.
Okay.
The original opening is right in here somewhere.
Are there windows on the back of that structure?
There's one.
One?
And that would be replaced, actually, this staircase leads into that window. I believe that staircase leads into that window, which is how we're going to penetrate into the second floor.
Okay.
Because currently there is a staircase here, but that's just one big room upstairs. It does appear to be a large addition, but you have to realize it's a really small house right there.
How big is the existing house, and how big is the addition square footage wise? Comparatively speaking, including the garage. A lot.
You got me. Well, it's a lot, but
So the, I got a question for you, basic question. So, the addition that you want to tear out,
yes,
that addition in itself was built in appeared on the Sanborn map in 1886. The addition itself is a historic property.
could I, could you back up to one of the photos that shows the side of the house? This structure here is all modern framing. It's, you know,
That's modern framing, okay, well, thank you.
and this door and everything is all modern, and actually all this foundation here is modern as it wraps around the corner. Now, this was two additions over time, and there is an old structure in there, but unfortunately, if you go to the front picture of the house,
Oh, sorry.
see how this roof line comes down?
Yeah.
Since neither property has been maintained, all the water off that roof has been going into the back wall of that addition. And it's rotted out everything. If you look at the siding pictures that I submitted, the siding's completely rotted off of it because the water constantly hitting it. It's got to the framing and got to the floor joist. So everything falls back about 2 feet.
So you're saying all of the existing structure in the back is deteriorated to the point to where it needs to be removed?
It would either need substantial structural repair, including foundation, walls, and roof, or rafters and so forth, or it needs to come off.
And then secondly, you're saying that the rear of the property, the addition in the rear of the property, although there may be some elements to it in a small area that might be historic, old, from the 1800s, but the majority of that rear, you're telling me that's new construction, that's recent construction.
No,
The-
just on one side.
The whole,
It's probably a porch that was closed in.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that is the closed-in porch.
this
Yeah,
whole
right
east
there.
side.
Yeah.
So you go back 5 feet, and then you got the original structure. But then you go into that structure and it starts to fall off.
So the gray part's an original, is an original structure, that gray building there in the back, the addition.
If you go about 5 feet into it,
I follow you.
So this was a porch that was enclosed.
I thought.
That's why it's all modern construction.
So the porch is of newer construction, and you walk through the porch, and then you get into the older original construction.
Yes.
Okay.
The historically significant part of it is the other side of the house, which nobody can see, and has got sustained the most damage.
And so in the original portion of the house, there's substantial water damage to all the timbers and foundation and everything else.
In the frame part, the brick part seems to be okay. The floor joists are all sagging and so forth, which we're gonna have to go in and address those. But the masonry seems to be solid, and there is still plaster on the wall, which indicates water hasn't damaged that too bad.
So, does that property extend all the way to the corner?
So there will be, can't remember the term. We were told to get historic approval, and then there's gonna be a little bit of property that'll be vacated by the city possibly. So this is step one in a multiple step process.
Property from the edge of that house coming out to, not First Street, but that side street, I'm not sure what street that is. Pearl, okay. Is that all one property? Is that the owner of the house, does he also own that lot?
He owns out, and the city owns as well. And the city, I don't know exactly where the property line is, I can't tell you that. But in order to build the addition that he wants, he does have to go to the city.
So he's gotta get a variance.
Yeah, he's gotta get it.
So then if I'm understanding the application tonight, we are just considering the demolition of that tonight.
And the appropriateness of the addition.
Well, the reason I asked that question is because I didn't have any information on windows, doors, siding.
Material choices?
So, Sonny asked the previous owner had supplied, John when he purchased the house, quite a bit of material. And unfortunately, we don't know whether it's wood sashes or wood windows, but one of them had been approved already, and those will be installed in the main part of the house. The back of the house will be clad, aluminum clad, and then,
Are the
doors
current-
and garage doors.
Go ahead.
I do have information for you.
Are the current windows in the front, they look to be vinyl, are they?
I believe they are vinyl. This one has been completely removed, I believe, which interestingly enough, the front door used to be here and it was actually moved at some
Oh.
point.
So then you're proposing to replace all of the windows in the historic portion with wood?
Yeah, and I believe this has been approved already for the replacement in the original portion.
Is that correct?
And those materials, like I said, conveyed with the property.
Yeah.
Just like there's half-round gutters that conveyed with the property without wood being installed.
Well, the addition on the back of the structure is gonna be larger than the historic structure itself.
Unless you
That's
take into
what they're
account
saying,
the
look at it.
original historic structure and replace it.
The brick structure is gonna be, is smaller than the proposed new construction.
But as you mentioned on the Sanborn map, it's been two different types of construction.
The safety,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it never stood as a two-story brick very long.
Yeah.
Does,
I'm just saying that, to me, that little thing in the back, it's smaller than that. It looks smaller to me than the brick portion of that house. Now you're talking about putting a huge addition on the back of that place, a big size addition, with the garage and all the rest of it.
I do
That's what you
agree.
wanna do.
I do agree. It's a large undertaking, and I believe John's belief here is that there's been a lot of good effort put on the street down there. For a long time, all those houses were in pretty bad shape.
Yeah, they're coming along.
And there's 5 or 6 that are under construction. There's several that's already
The
done.
beauty's down there now. Yeah.
You know, he's trying to create a home. This isn't gonna be a rental property or anything like this. This is gonna be his home.
is there any issue with flood mitigation, in that lower level, the First Street?
Yeah, that's the low end.
Let
It's
me
the low end.
verify before I answer that.
So the first floor is not in the floodplain,
Yeah,
the back part is. So where the garage would be, so there's not gonna be any finished space there.
okay.
That's
So water
some
can
other
come and
structures
go.
going in. So that's similar to some other structures that have gone in.
Right.
Well, right across the street, basically, that way.
Yes,
Directly
yes,
across the street,
yes.
we
Yeah, that's what I
recently
was talking
approved
about.
an addition in a carport that they just poured the cement on, I think, today, directly across the street from that.
So the big thing for me will be what I mentioned up front, as it comes to the side, and you're looking at the front of the house. I'm looking at the front, and I now see snow addition and some of that there, whereas our guidelines would say that you shouldn't see that any new addition from, the front of the house,
Yeah.
that's gonna be something that will be, more difficult for me, because it looks like what you really have prepared in the back, it will not be bigger than the front, right? I don't think it's gonna, no, tall. Oh, tall.
No,
Height.
no, it is a one-story.
From a height
Yeah.
standpoint, so.
Now,
Well, it's a two-story rear, I mean, in essence, you have the garage level, and then you have.
correct, correct. Now, what I will suggest, though, that there are other properties that were built in that time period in Madison that have a similar appearance. And I can't think of examples now, but I've studied a lot of the
The
architecture.
one John Heights just got approved for. John Heights' house, he's putting that other porch right back there. It's got the porch on the side that comes out. The one John Heights y'all just looked at earlier. John's house has that same look. It has the front. His was a single story.
It has that one that
It has the
wraps
porch
around
that sets
the
back
back.
on the back there where he's gonna have the main door going into his place back there, so it's kind of the same thing.
So we've put some effort into trying to make it feel like it was somewhat appropriate.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Questions, comments from the audience?
Yeah.
I have questions for.
My name's Mike Prickett. I live at 919 West First Street. I also own 921, 923, and 927, all four houses right there. John would be my neighbor to the west. I've lived there, well, I haven't lived there this whole time. I've owned that property different times. It's always been an eyesore. I trapped multiple groundhogs. I mean, the foundation is destroyed from where the groundhogs have been going under there. I probably hauled off 20 groundhogs in the last 7 or 8 years. The whole floor structure is shot. There's nothing there that could be salvageable at all. Like I was saying about John Heights', you have that little bit of offset on his. You can drive around downtown and there's hundreds of them that have that small offset. It's all the way to the back. None of the addition comes out onto the brick, just the small porch roof, which is what, 9 by 9 or so. John is going to conform to all the city stuff. He's going to use an aluminum clad wood window. That's a sun window that's approved on fast track through Brooke and Nicole. So there's no vinyl products. He's going to use a LP smart side, smooth side out. He's going to use fiberglass doors. And I don't think you can really call it a two-story structure. The basement, you don't call a basement a first floor. The first floor is going to tie into the first floor of the two-story brick part there. So he's putting just a one-story addition on with a basement in the garage, or the garage in the basement, I'm sorry. Kind of like the new ones Brian's building there on the corner of Vernon, and, the basement's.
How far does that stick out from the side?
And I understand.
The basement's a garage, so it's
right
not,
from the
everybody kept saying it's a two-story addition. It's only a single-story addition over a basement.
Bert, can you go to that side view again where we can see
So
where it
that-
ties
the
into the
dimension there.
historic structure?
How far?
The side view.
Yeah.
See, the addition's not gonna go, you can see there, the addition doesn't cover the house at all.
Yeah, the addition's
How deep is that from the house?
That's 9 by 9.
So you're coming out 9 feet from the edge of
With
the
the
house?
porch.
With just the porch, the house, yeah.
9 by 9.
So if you look back at John Heights' house that he just got approval for, it's kind of the exact same setup as that.
Different.
The only reason we came out this far was to get this pitch. We actually would have liked to have shortened it out, but the pitch wouldn't have looked correct from that angle.
And then Brooke, the back view, again with the garage doors.
So to have a balcony in the back there, I assume.
Oh, wooden decking, wooden railing.
Wood decking,
And then the garage doors are very similar to the doors on,
Mr. Ricketts' home.
What are the dimensions on the balcony?
It's the full width, so it's 32 by 12, I believe.
Is that a three-car garage?
It's 2 single cars and a golf cart.
Oh, I got it.
We have to have a golf cart.
I mean, I guess you didn't get these drawings, but I mean, here's kind of an angled view of what it would look like.
Yeah, I think I got a good idea. Any other questions, comments from the audience? All right, hearing none. Let's see here, who went to the last one?
Jerome's turn?
Is it Jerome? It's your turn, I'm sorry.
My turn?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, okay. This is really
So we got
getting blurry here.
generation and.
I'm gonna try my best. Let's stand up and see it. Okay, maybe I took my glasses off. That works better. The building that, okay, residential guidelines demolition, page 80. The buildings that contribute to the historic residential character of the historic district neighborhoods are irreplaceable physical evidence of Madison's past. The loss of any historic building affects not only the individual building, but surrounding landscapes as well. Demolition may be appropriate if the building does not contribute to the historic character, which this one does. Applicants for demolition should explore possibilities for selling or using the historic buildings. Obviously, in this case, it's not applicable. There's one last sentence I was going to read on that. Okay, here we go. Applicants should consider mothballing buildings, which involves developing a strategy for halting deterioration, protecting from vandalism, and stabilizing the building structure until such time the proper rehabilitation and restoration may commence. Demolition may be appropriate if the denial of demolition will result in demonstrable economic hardship on the owner. Moving a building from its historic location will be approved only if all other alternatives for preservation have been explored. Demolition by neglect occurs when the building is allowed to deteriorate through lack of maintenance, which appears to be in this case, and it is self-imposed hardship that will not be considered a mitigating circumstance for determining economic hardship.
So on that part, do you believe it fits the demolition?
Yes, I do. Just with the description you've given me on the deterioration of the water infiltration from the neighboring properties. New construction, additions, page 68, residential guidelines. And planning additions, the best approach is to site additions where they will not be visible from the street, or where they will have the least effect of the building's overall form and plan. The rear of the building is the best location for additions of rooms, wings, porches, or decks. Enlarging the property through adding additional storage is not appropriate, except at rear roof lines which are not readily visible. Additions to historic homes should be located at the rear of the building, not on the front or sides of the building, where they are readily visible from the street. Additions should be secondary, smaller and simpler than the original building in scale, design, and placement. Additions should be of compatible design in keeping with the original building's design, roof shape, material, color, location, windows, doors, or heights. Additions should not imitate an earlier historic style or architectural period. For example, Victorian era Queen Anne style rear porch addition would not be appropriate on a colonial revival house. The recommended approach for additions is to reflect the characteristics of the current period and the design, but compatible with the original building to avoid the extensive removal, damage, and loss of the historic material. Additions should keep the exterior walls of the original buildings intact as possible, and use existing doors and window openings for connecting the additions to the building, which this does.
I didn't hear the last
He
part.
goes at his approval. Tom?
I think that the demolition is in conformance with our guidelines. After looking at the pictures and the condition of that structure, I do not agree that the project is in conformance with the guidelines 1, 2, and 6 because of just the massing. That's really the only problem that I have. The materials that we discussed all have been approved and they're definitely in compliant with our guidelines. But the massing I have issue with. So.
Okay, I actually have a problem with both. I think, as Thomas says, that the massing is a big problem. It's enormous and clearly in violation of the guidelines, but I also think the demolition also does not really fulfill the guidelines. It is historic. We don't have any pictures or that show that it's really in such shape that it can't be restored, so I have to assume that it can be since we haven't been provided with any evidence otherwise. So I would say no to either.
This is a different one for me. You know, I go down by that street quite a lot on my own golf cart to go by there, and this structure, as Mike even stated, is you know, it's a lot of work. You know, it's always difficult when we start talking about additions to a historical structure. I think it's always changes things, but at the same time, looks like really what you're really trying to propose is almost to be in concert with new builds that are just to the east of it, where you're talking about. And so, I think it, trying to keep as much historical parts of this building, I think that the demo was correct, in doing the demo on the back. Because I've been behind there, I haven't seen it inside, but I mean, I've been behind there and seen what that, looks like. And the new construction could be a little bit, it's a little big and robust, but there's a lot of property there, and there's going to be, it's going to all be dependent on you getting the variance too. You don't get the variance, and then you're coming back to the drawing board on this. If the city doesn't give you or the planning commission doesn't give you that variance, then you have to look at that. So, I think with that, I think that, most of it I could probably agree with. So. All right, so with that, accept a motion. I'll make the motion to approve the COA for 1001 West 1st Street to demolish the existing single-story rear addition and build a new addition with a first-level basement garage and a top level that's residential that on the back side that has a side front porch that's seen from the front side.
I second it.
And let me amend my motion for a second with the building materials that were discussed during the meeting that Mike brought up as well.
So that's on the application, right?
Yeah, but I just want to make sure it's in the motion, so if you want to second
Yeah, I
that.
second.
All right, roll call.
Owen McCall,
Do not approve.
Josh Wilbur,
Approved.
Jerome Vernon,
Approved.
and Thomas Stark.
Do not approve.
All right, with that, you get the COA in the mail. So this has been approved because there was not 4 votes against. So you will be able to begin construction and demolition as soon as you have the proper building permits.
I'll work with it and make sure it looks good.
All right, thank you guys, appreciate it. Our next application is 312 Poplar Street.
Hello, boy.
Well, and this is the one.
What's your name?
Ken McWilliams, 315 Poplar, representing the elder.
This 1898 gable front zoned historic district residential the COA request is to remove the southern chimney, demolish the rear addition, and remove the brick railing from the front porch. You can see pictures of the rear addition on your left, pictures on the right showing deterioration of portions of the window and framing. You can see interior pictures showing where the floor is sloped significantly from where the addition attaches to the home to the rear. And then the renovation plans, you have visuals on the left showing the before and right showing the after. Exterior front door will be repaired and restored. And then on this one, it shows on the left, we know that this is one of the Trow cottages. 4 of the 6 current Trow cottages do not have chimneys. 2 do.
Central chimneys, right?
Correct.
Correct. Only one of those 6 has an actual functioning chimney. The exterior of the plan is to replace all 13 windows with new Pella 250 series vinyl windows with 1/1s.
Was that, can you go back up, sorry?
Yes.
That's a big solid.
Replace the vinyl with new Architect Series wood clad.
Those are the, so it lists 4 options. And if you see number 3 where it says our plan in parentheses, that is what this application is proposing.
Sorry, I was not reading it right. Okay.
And then you can see there on the rear addition, so some of the changes, because there's structural damage and deterioration on that, the proposal is to remove that, remove the fence. The rear chimney has collapsed and is only about a third, or probably a little less than a third standing, and that rear addition has separated from the primary structure. So you can see on the front elevation, the plans are to repair and reinstall the decorative barge board and corbels, tuck pointing and repair of the chimney in the support of a gas fireplace, and that is the northern chimney, just to clarify. Replacing all of the windows, single hung with 1/1s. The front and rear doors will both be repaired and reused. The brick porch railing removed, but the brick columns will remain. And post demolition, you can see some photos of what is proposed for the rear, and some of the materials with the basement access, bulkhead under the deck, the poured pavers on the patio, the shed, and then, of course, the cedar horizontal fence. And that is all I have.
Kim, you got anything to add to that?
Me?
Yeah, you're representing the applicant.
Would you go back to the window page, please? So I know everyone on this board, like me, has been frustrated by when people come up and say, I need to replace windows, and we have no idea what they're talking about. And so what I think I'd like to see the board move, you have a photo of what it currently looks like, and you have the exact replacement window next to it. So Brooke and I watched a presentation from a expert in Philadelphia, and he said a thing I've never thought of before then, is that the sash should recognize what the previous sash. So the windows should look alike, even if they are different materials, so that the home keeps some kind of presentation. But so, wood windows, so how much does it cost to fix a window? 2 quotes at $30,000.
For 10 windows.
Yeah, just a few windows.
3,000 a pop.
Yep. So we got quotes from a group out of Lexington that was $1,800 a window. And a group out of Louisville that was $1,600 a window. Or more. So the Lexington boys at least included storms in theirs. The Louisville guys who are doing Crystal Beach, thought they just charged me $12,000 to fix the sashes, fix the sills, so.
So
But anyway,
can I ask
we-
this, on the windows, if you were looking at maybe the wood clad, you know, which is the 9.
Yeah, you see that there.
Are you guys looking at trying to go for a grant with the city?
Oh, we are. But we were turned down as dilapidated,
Oh, you were turned down.
even though it's been vacant over 10 years.
Or both,
And,
or both grants?
no,
So
you
you-
only need one. Dilapidated means you can go for the larger grant.
Oh, so you didn't go for the, smaller?
Oh, we will. Yeah, but we're demoing, we're taking all that asbestos siding off, and what we're really encouraged about is that when we saw Kevin's house on the corner, he has all that original cladding on there, wood paneling. So we're gonna repair all that, so hopefully, I'm pretty sure Kevin's going to also. But, no, so, I mean, we always wondered what it took to repair wood windows.
A lot.
Stunning. So Seth Elder out of Aurora would do it for $1,100. You know, stupid money. Roger Welch, of course, told me to throw them away, so, but we'll give them to restore or whatever. But anyway, I believe that this should be some kind of format like this, should be the standard that Brooke, you know, does in her, every time she gets an application, not taking anything less than real information to the board.
Kim, would you consider replacing all 13 windows with the vinyl clad?
No, that's twice the money you see there, right, Thomas?
Okay, yeah, I see it.
All right, and we have stunning, we're going down to the studs inside, just like they did on the corner. There's significant repair work to be done in that house. So it's just to absorb it. And this, you know, it matches the neighbors. Both sides have vinyl windows. Both sides have vinyl siding. We're not doing that, you know. We're repairing all the woodwork on the, on the top, corbels and frames, and they've got soffit. We're not doing that, so.
Okay, so, you know, I have some experience with these people. I've talked to them, and, if they're telling you for simple windows like that really don't seem, at least what I can see from the pictures, in awful shape, it's not like they're falling to bits. $1,800 per window. I'm assuming they didn't come out here. They're
They
just
did.
saying worst
Both
case.
teams came out and
And
walked
they
the
said
house.
$1,800 per window.
Yes. So they take the windows home.
Yes, right,
Seth said that also?
yeah.
Or was Seth's
We got-
11?
No, Seth just gave us a number. He didn't give us any details.
That's how Heritage works, is they take the windows to Lexington, do it all, and then bring them back.
No, and clearly, both those guys work government jobs, big commercial jobs, and someone says yes to that. You know, just, you know, I'm not aware of anyone who can do it or is willing to do it in this town.
Oh, it's, you know, it's a lot harder than you think building a window. I mean, you're talking a really complicated millwork on those things, takes all kinds of jigs and everything else.
But right, I mean, these are simple replacement windows from the.
Well,
from
normally
the-
when you restore, you're replacing a good portion of it. When they say restore, and you look at these windows, most of them are pretty well deteriorated. You gotta cut new boards.
Well, of course, our guidelines say that if they are not 80% deteriorated, that they need to be restored rather than replaced. That's the guidelines. Now,
And
the other thing
and
is,
Mrs. Guideline here says they're 80%, so. She said, Brooke says they hit that threshold.
They do, Brooke?
The ones, that we examined on the floor level, yes.
48%.
On the, if you look at the southern elevation, yes.
How many windows?
Let me go back to that picture. It was, I mean, several of them were,
I thought there were 2.
so let's see.
But she didn't take a picture of every
Well,
window.
you've got the
No,
back.
I did not take a picture of every window. So if you look at, let me go back to the picture I did take. So, okay, so there's one, two, on that south side, I think there's two, correct, Ken? Or is there three?
There's three.
Okay. So if you look at this picture on the right, you can see where there is significant deterioration there of the channels, the rails.
I looked at them real carefully today, they're done.
Well, I mean, if they are maintaining their shape, they could be 90%.
So give me $27,000 to fix it. Come on, Owen.
If you can put epoxy in there, soak it into wood, it will make it stronger than it was originally. Just because you see a rotten bunting doesn't mean it has to be replaced. Also, there's no reason you have to replace all these and fix it all at once. If you're willing to repair rather than replace, you don't even need to come in front of the board, and you could do one every so often, so it doesn't break that bank. And you can just put a high quality
I don't have to
form on the
listen to
outside that will,
But Ken,
protect what's
he
there.
He has a right to talk to
No,
him.
he does.
Yes, he
He's
does.
just a knucklehead.
Ken, stop.
Come
stop.
on.
Come on.
I'm not asking you to necessarily agree with me, Ken, but can I at least say what I want to
No,
say?
you're just taking up space.
Ken,
Take
he has a right to his opinion. All right.
So can I finish?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so the other option is repairing them, and you don't have to do it all at once, and since if you would be repairing instead of replacing, you would not even have to come in front of the boards, it wouldn't even have to come up here, and they can be preserved like they are by putting a relatively inexpensive modern storm on the outside just to protect it from any weather, any further deterioration. So I know that's not what usually happens. I'd like to change our habits in this town where we start following the guidelines and actually repairing these kind of windows rather than just tearing them out and replacing them with something new. Because once you repair that, that can be repaired again in like 20 years. When it gets bad again, that can be repaired. These new windows you put in, as the person before you said, once they break a spring or a piece of plastic in them breaks, you just throw it out and get a whole new thing. They can't be repaired. So it may seem like you're saving money going to all new windows, but in the long haul, you're probably not. That's all I have to say.
Any other questions, comments from the board?
On windows or?
The
anything?
application, yeah.
So I think I see three chimneys, one in the central, one in the decorative one, and then this one that is between that addition you're going to tear off.
Correct.
Yeah.
Pull one up.
So I am in agreement. I mean, that's totally not functional. The one in the central part of the house, I believe you should keep. It looks like it's in decent shape, and it can be repaired if it's not. And of course, the fireplace in the living room chimney is quite attractive, and I know you plan on keeping that as well.
I was pointing that out. So we're taking out the interior chimney, so there's no support for that central chimney any longer.
You've already taken
No,
out?
you can't do anything until later.
Why are you removing that?
It has no function.
Okay, well, but we all know that chimneys are significant parts.
I like chimneys also. And we'll try to keep this one. I'm just saying there's a good chance once we take that support down that it's going to collapse.
No, we're just talking about the central chimney.
He's
Central
talking about
chimney.
on the
You can just see
southern
the
chimney.
tip of it
The
there.
tip, right,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
One on the south side.
Correct.
There's nothing structural wise you're doing. You're just doing it because you are eliminating the chimney from the inside.
Yes, yeah, but we're making significant changes on the interior.
So the chimney that's on the south side of the property, kind of in the middle of the house.
Right.
It appears to me that it doesn't look original to the house. It looks
I think it looks like it's been replaced maybe even when they did the roof, maybe 10 years ago.
It's got red brick and it's a different color than the
Yes.
other chimney.
Doesn't
Doesn't
need
really
tuck
fit
pointing.
in.
Ken, are you, doing like, Kevin, are you relocating the front staircase to the front, or are you gonna leave them on the side?
We're talking both
Okay.
ideas.
I'm just curious, I
Right
mean, neither
now.
one works, so,
Yes, so we have to replace the one on the side. It's deteriorated too much, so
yeah.
I think it should go in front like the two neighbors, go straight up.
Mhm. I haven't looked down between those houses, but you know, the ones on Second Street, they actually have, and that's why Kevin wanted to change his to the front, because there was actually drainage that came down. The same thing here? Okay.
Yes, and in that snow, you know, there's no sun that gets between those houses, so that just stayed frozen lake for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions? Any questions, comments from the audience? All right, hearing none. Tom, you want to take us through the findings of that?
Yeah. Chimneys contribute to the structure's architectural character. They should be maintained, repaired. If unstable, they should be rebuilt. And I think that to remove it would not be in conformance with guidelines 1 through 3. And so chimneys should not be removed, altered, or if original or architecturally significant. If a chimney becomes unstable or is already collapsed, it should be rebuilt to match the original design. Front porch columns and the brick railings, porch columns and railings should be retained and maintained. However, we have discussed this on previous houses, that these were probably added at a later date. I think that the project of removing the brick between the columns is in conformance with the guidelines, and it will bring back or restore the original appearance of the house. Let's see.
It's up to you if you want, whichever one you say next.
Demolition, okay. Let's see, historic buildings are evidence to Madison historic past. I think it's quite obvious that the demolition of that back addition is in such poor condition and not original probably to the house. So I believe that the demolition of the rear addition is in conformance with the guidelines. It is not historic and it is in total disrepair. It will not result in loss of historic materials to the existing house and will also restore the appearance of the home. So I believe that, you know, that is in conformance. And then the last one, the windows. Windows are prominent components. They should be retained, maintained, and repaired as needed. 80% of the existing window should be deteriorated. And if they are, then wood or aluminum clad windows are appropriate. Snap-on buttons do not replicate the historic appearance. I don't think that this is in conformance with window guidelines 1, 3, and 5 because the replacement of all the windows with vinyl are not appropriate replacements. And I would just encourage you to consider one of the other options. I know they're more expensive, but I don't believe that using vinyl is going to be compliant with our current guidelines.
No, you saw that I first was anticipating keeping the wood.
I'm sorry?
I was anticipating keeping the wood windows.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree with Tom for the reasons that he stated.
I agree with Tom, except for the chimney that you plan on taking down. I don't believe that is, contributes at all to the historic elements of that house. I don't think it was originally there in the first place. It was probably added sometime around 1950 or so. I don't believe that that's a historic part of it.
Yeah, I agree with Jerome and his comments. accept a motion.
We don't just,
Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that the Madison Historic Board of Review grant a certificate of appropriateness to Gary Harris?
Correct.
Oyster catcher?
Correct.
Okay. For the purpose, removing the southern chimney, demolishing the rear addition, or removing the brick railing. Property's located, and replacement of the windows.
With,
With vinyl. Don't make me say that. Okay, the property's located at 312 Poplar Street, Madison, Indiana. Subject, however, to the conditions specified in the findings of facts made previously to the. I'll agree with that part.
Second. I'll second.
Owen McCall,
do not approve.
Josh Wilbur,
Do not approve.
Jerome Vernon,
Approve.
and Thomas Stark.
we have to either approve all of it or deny all of it, right?
Yeah, it was all made at one.
Okay, I do not approve.
So you'll get your COA in the middle, because it's, we did not have four against, so.
Thanks so much.
Again, as long as you get the building permits to, just make sure everything. Thank you, Ken. All right, our last application on is 820 Fillmore Street. You've been waiting very patiently, Pat. I know, so getting your steps in.
But see, you're gonna be here when we open up the bar, so. Just teasing.
Go ahead and state your name and address for us.
Patrick Lynch, 820 Fillmore.
Okay.
I'm really not sure what it is.
This house is listed on the NHL survey as a circa 1990. However, I do want to note that staff disagrees with that and would put the approximate date between 1927 to 1937. But it is a gable front.
Can you explain why?
Yes.
Before you.
Okay, yeah. So, when the survey was done, that we currently use, the house was completely clad in vinyl. And that disguised, the historic character. Now that this work has been done, it's uncovered original historic, wood siding and some, other features of the house. Looking at, upon closer inspection, looking at the way that the materials and the construction is, the building elements, it's an approximate date of late 20s to 30s, mid 30s.
Okay. Patrick, would you agree with that?
1920,
Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Bert.
The COA request,
Turn your mic.
Oh, I didn't know it was shut off. Sorry about that.
COA request is to rebuild the roof with a 612 standing seam gable roof, increase the west wall by 8 inches to correct structural issues, move the porch door 3 feet and replace the door, replace one wood window with aluminum clad window, replace one 3-foot by 5-foot aluminum clad window with a 4-foot by 2.5-foot aluminum clad window, replace the north door with a new composite door, install a 6-foot by 8-foot French door with side lights on the south side of the home, replace Dutch lap vinyl siding with board and batten vinyl siding, and then this morning there was a modification to the application to also include adding an additional 2 feet to the previously approved front addition that was done back in, I believe it was October. And these are pictures of some of the work that's currently been done on the home. And just as a reminder, this is what the home looked like during the survey and then at the previous application time.
And Brooke, has all of the work that's been done currently, it's all been approved?
No. In October, it was approved to build a deck on the rear and to do that front addition by 3 feet.
Patrick, do you want to add anything to that?
Ask me any question and I'll try to answer them best I can.
So,
I mean, the things that have been done were done initially interior, all the seal plates, there was no overhanging with, as rough as you can see. So water rained down, so seal plates all inside, were completely gone, roof plates were gone. House has been on fire 3 different times, none of this was known. A lot of studs along the wall were actually on this west wall. It was a port, if you come back to that bust. Originally it was a seal fire damage, but yeah, that was that, that's.
Is that the picture you're wanting? I'm sorry.
If you go back, but the roof comes
Is it that one you're
down,
wanting?
it came down, and then at one point this was a covered porch, and then they did pull that onto it to make it add on 3 foot.
Yeah.
So there's no weight there for that gate, and I had the building inspector come down, he agreed there's no way to fix it right without retrussing it. I mean, metal people come down, tell me the last time we truss the whole thing, there's no way to put metal on it, it actually looked aesthetically pleasing. I lost that for shingles, but metal, it's gotta be solid and stuff. So what I was hoping to do is move the roof pitch. I don't have to, right now, let's say it's 20 foot on the east side, it's 25 on the west side, it comes down, it does this. I was hoping with the roof over maybe 3 foot, so I center right in the center of the house, so both sides about 22 foot, so it looks aesthetically pleasing.
With the overhang or,
Nothing over.
okay. How much of an overhang?
It's thinking around 12 inches,
Okay.
or about 15. And then here you can see there was, on that window, there's a 2.5 by 4 foot window here, and here there's a 3 by 5. That I was gonna match this one to this one, so they match, and so that one 3 by 5, and then that was the window issue, you can see it there.
This would be the south elevation with the French doors on the rear porch that faces the river.
The roof pitch won't change, it's currently a 612, and it'll stay at 612, so that changes the roof pitch. That's, these are all, I went up to vendors, these are all vendor approved, or historically approved vendor doors. That's the door that'll go on the street side or alley side. And then,
Sorry.
if you come back, there'll be a single door that will match the French doors that'll be on the side porch there. There's a picture of something, but it'll just be one of these, and then match that in.
And what side will that be on?
This will be on the river side.
Oh, the riverside, okay.
And then right around the corner, because there's like a, so it'll be right, this is the house, but it's just, getting like a bit.
Yeah,
Right
yeah,
around the
yeah.
side here will be just a door, it'll match, just a single door.
Okay.
The siding on the left, the Gordon batten is the one that's being proposed.
There was siding there already before.
My father owned the house for 30 years. There was vinyl siding on it.
Right.
We bought the house and we got approved to replace that
That's
because it got
what
in
we
bad
saw.
shape 30 years ago. And so there's been vinyl on there since we owned it. And then it just got, when we started having to make the steel plate repairs and stuff, we had to go outside and do some of that. And the side was old vinyl, just cracked and fell apart.
So you're proposing to go back with vinyl
Vinyl,
siding?
yes.
And then this is a floor plan of the bathroom, which is in that front. Would include the previously approved 3-foot addition. They're wanting an additional 2 feet due to the floor plan of this bathroom and the necessity for it to be handicap accessible. But that is the application.
Can you go to the front and tell us kind of what that's gonna do? Cause I don't really understand
Yes.
how that's gonna change the front.
Oh, well, it'll be,
You can show me, Patrick.
There it is.
mirror image this, we've already been approved to come out 3 foot. I'm just
Yeah.
asking for 2 additional, because once we got the main bathroom out, we didn't remember, I wanted to be able to use that vessel.
Did you see that from the alley? That's the.
You see that from the alley, so you won't see anything, I mean, it'll mirror image, same footprint, it's just gonna come out, and we've already been approved for 3 foot, it'll just come out 2 more additional feet, which is, and I think presently it's 18 feet from the property line.
So Patrick, this is the north side of the house, correct? The
Yeah,
alley
this is
side.
north side, yes, sir.
So, in an earlier picture, I'm looking at that door that's under the, that looks like a newer door.
That is a new door.
But did I see a historic door in an earlier picture?
I think on the porch.
On the porch?
She backs it up.
Let's see, I think I have.
There is a
close
wood
up.
one,
It went fast, but I thought I saw.
There is one around there that I was wanting to,
There it
this
is.
one, I'm wanting to move a door, it's not really good shape at all, but I'm wanting to move the door, and that's the one that was gonna match these others, I just wanted to move this door down roughly 3 feet to match up with the steps.
Okay.
And you're wanting to replace that door
I
with
was
one of
gonna go
those
ahead and
doors that you had on that.
That you'd retain the original door, the historic door, correct?
No, I was gonna replace it with,
Oh,
to
replace
match,
it,
to
okay.
match the French doors that are gonna be in the same room. And the doors, also, no,
And you can see that door from what angle, from what side?
no.
It's
River,
I don't think-
riverside?
I don't think it's
Possibly,
visible.
You can't
it'd
see
be
that
really tough
door.
to see it on from there, you'd have to go down there, it's
Yeah.
almost impossible, but it'd
I'll
almost.
say, I didn't think you could see that.
We call it here, I thought it was
I have a picture of it from,
It's not easy.
No,
that's what,
the porch, the budget is, you know, so it's covered, so it'll be really tough.
Yeah.
You'd have to be on the river to see it.
You'd have to be the river and way down that way, and then I think trees and everything else is gonna block any, I mean, seeing it would be,
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's impossible.
But it's not from an alley view or a
No,
street view.
it's, you know, yeah, it's almost be.
So you'd consider then taking that to, if you're not gonna use it to restore or?
Yeah, technically, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, so I see you have a standing seam roof. From earlier pictures, it looks like it's in really bad shape. Is it, I'm guessing it can't be repaired, or can it?
No, it's a.
Okay.
So.
So you're
Also,
proposing to
new
replace it with a
rack,
new standing.
New
seam.
standing seam.
So it'll be the same as this? then?
Yes, it'll be
Okay.
standing seam roof just like that, but it'll be, you know, rafters and that way we can straighten it up. But yeah, as you saw on all the spots, and you can see where it's
Yeah.
been. And that's part of, no overhangs, part of that, you know, is why we got all the water down.
Sure.
Drop all the seal plates and the
When you
roof
say
plates.
standing seam, you mean no exposed fasteners, right? We're not talking about environmental or
Not
true
on those,
standing
true
seam.
standing
He's,
seam.
he's
Yes,
talking,
sir.
going back with what's there, but only.
Right.
Yes, true standing, yes, I understand. Not
I know what
environmental.
you're asking.
So-
I know what you're asking too, no, true standing seam.
Am I seeing 3 sides that still have the original wood siding on it? The front, the west, and the north?
Well, there's some back here, cause this wall's not been messed with yet. Every time we tried to fix the seal plates and stuff, so we had to pick the roof up to do that, and every time decided to support it.
So it's not, it can't be repaired then?
It would just all fell off.
Yeah.
honestly.
Have you
But it's a-
considered, or would you consider using LP siding?
I've not done enough studying on it, so I'd rather just try to get approved. If you turn me down on that side, I can do some. I don't know enough about hardy board, LP, and that kind of stuff. I'd have to, you know, if it's just, but I, you know, like I say, it's been vinyl for in excess of 30, 40 years or whatever.
Brooke, can I, so from a material standpoint, if he's asking, if vinyl is there and he's putting vinyl back, does he even have to ask the board to do that?
so our guidelines state that you can replace in kind.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I've just, because I know that's what has been, I mean, it's what's been done, and I think there's even been staff approvals on that before because of that.
there's no staff approval needed if it's replaced in kind.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
So,
What he's asking for is
he is asking for vinyl.
in kind.
So
Yes.
we don't even need to address that tonight if that's what he wants to do?
Well, that's what I'm wondering, because my
Yeah.
point is if he's asking for in kind, you know,
But
but I
it's-
guess he don't, I shouldn't say that.
It's not in kind because he's
He has a
proposing-
new addition.
Well,
That's
no,
all.
it's not just that, but it's the design of the vinyl siding. So if you go back to, okay, look at this picture,
Yeah.
it's horizontal siding, correct? What
Okay.
he's proposing is board and batten vinyl siding. So it's going to look like all the way on the left, the khaki colored one.
So vertical instead of horizontal?
Correct, vertical,
Oh, I was just taking
with like a
notes.
stick design.
So when you put it on, it's gonna be like
Yeah,
this?
it'll be a board and back, I mean, which is historically, it's not like the one that's not historically correct.
Oh, I just didn't know, I mean, I just,
Yeah,
know
no,
it's material.
Yeah, I mean, there's some of it downtown.
Mhm.
Brooke, are you familiar with some houses downtown that have board and batten?
Yes. But the architectural style is completely different from the architectural style of this.
Yeah.
I mean, I took pictures of houses all through downtown.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
No, I understand, it's quite a big picture.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, yeah, no, so, we're good, man. Yeah, we'll have to- Any other questions? Hearing none, any questions, comments from the audience? Can we come up and speak against him? No, I'm just kidding.
Not on
Another
this
issue.
I need a bigger bathroom than that. No. All right, so with that, Owen, do you want to do the findings of fact for us? Please.
All right. Okay, doors and entrances. Okay, so historic doors should be retained and preserved. You have one that you're not preserving and retaining, but it is not visible really from any public right of way. And it would be awkward given where it is because it will look very different than the door on the same wall. So I think, well, I guess I'll give you my opinion here, but I think that's permissible. Deteriorate or damaged historic doors, but that's not applicable here. Missing or severely damaged doors should be replaced. Examples that replicate the original. Replacement doors may be of painted panel wood or the yours are fiberglass, is that what you said? I forgot what you said the material of your new doors is gonna be.
Yeah, it's a fiberglass, it's vendor, it's on there, it tells us that, yeah, it's a fiberglass.
Yeah, I think fiberglass, we have approved that quite
Yeah, I mean, they're
okay.
thermal truths.
Screen doors, we're not talking about. Screen doors is 6, again, we're not talking about that. Storm doors, we're not talking about. Security doors, we're not talking about. Okay. Now, demo, we're skipping down to demo now, okay. Of the west wall, so you, is that the only demo is the west wall?
That's just to get the extra footage?
No, that's just to raise it so I can get that truck, because that's what I said, we get
Oh,
that truck,
yes.
that's where they told them, and that's our weak point is, and there's no.
So are you adding 8 inches, or are you taking the studs out and then putting new studs in to raise it?
It'll be new studs, because all these studs were rotted out.
Okay.
So, yeah, but we raised
So it's
it.
demoing to add the new studs and stuff to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not what you normally consider when you talk about a demo, I would say,
Yeah, it's a
maybe
little
this
different,
isn't
yeah.
really a demo, so maybe we can, because of that, I think we're within the guidelines here. So let's not read through those. Okay. Windows, okay. All right, original windows should be preserved in their location, design, size. Should not be added on the primary facade. So were the windows you were taking out, were they?
All of them are aluminum clad besides the one wood, so they were aluminum clad prior, place them new aluminum clad. They were in there when we did it 30 years ago, so they're just getting old. But the one wooden, it's actually falling apart now, we took it out. The one wooden building was 2.5 or 4 foot. There's pictures of where it's rotted everywhere. We'll replace it with aluminum clad and then match the aluminum clad over here that was the 3x5 aluminum clad, just make it look.
So you're
We'll make it that 3x5 at 2.5 by 4.
you're adding 2 windows both
With the,
aluminum clad?
we go back to the picture.
Which side do you want?
here was a wooden 2.5 by 4.
Oh, so that's
Or-
good looking.
And here was aluminum, actually, I don't know why it's vinyl on that side. But I was gonna replace this one, put it in flat, same size. And
2
then I
by
was gonna
4.
come down here and match it, 2.5 by 4, so these windows would match instead of having 2.5 by 4.
And what will the dimensions be? It'll be
2.5 by 4, 2.5 by 4, identical. It'll be identical to this window,
Oh, I see, okay. And both aluminum clad?
both of them.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so they were deteriorated, but we have aluminum clad windows. So we're not talking about vinyl. Aluminum clad windows are on the approved materials list, so that seems good. Okay, sample muntins, we're not talking about any of that. Security bars, no. Okay, so now we are at new construction. We have rear and lateral addition, but it's really a front addition, isn't it?
Well, he has
Oh, but that was just modified this morning, that's why I added this.
Oh,
So-
okay. New construction, there we go. I see, that's what I don't have here. Yeah, so, should be located, the new addition should be located to the rear, so, that would be adding to the front, not being, with the guidelines, but this is quite a minor alteration, I would say.
That was
And
the
it's
one that was
also-
already approved for 3
It's
feet.
only
We're just,
coming out in one dimension, and you said it already been approved
for 3 feet, we're
for
just
3
gonna have
feet,
2
and you're only
additional
going
feet.
another 2, so.
So 5 feet total.
So it's a very minor change from what's already been approved, even though maybe technically it's,
Major change
doesn't
on each side.
follow the guidelines. I think that's kind of a technicality. Okay, additions with compatible with the original design, it looks exactly similar to what was there. Not entire or historical style, no, it's using exactly the same style. Okay, additions number 5, not appropriate, not applicable. And 6, I don't think is applicable either. Okay, then, what do we still have left? Roofs.
And siding.
And siding, right, okay, so we are at roofs, okay, so he's replacing a standing seam with a standing seam, so I don't think we need to go through the whole thing because he's replacing it high quality, top of the line, just what we like to see, with the same thing, okay?
But the roof pitch,
Oh, roof pitch,
The
okay, well,
roof
roof
pitch
pitch
is
is,
they, okay.
Stays the same?
So
But-
it's 612 now, it'll, yeah, but I mean, it'll be 612.
It'll come out 12 to 15 inches
Past,
for your
and
overhang.
We'll square, I mean, we were talking about moving it over that 3 foot to make sure both sides were
Symmetrical.
symmetrical.
Yes.
But the pitch won't change, it's 612 now, it'll be 612 then, and it's just bringing it so it's symmetrical and like.
well, it'll have to change the pitch some on each side, right?
Well, it'll change on the side, remember how that one side?
Yeah,
you
so
had that
which you
two-
probably
Yeah,
want to
but
do,
yes,
yeah, but
but
it
it gets it.
will change it.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
pitch down to that little, almost shelf
Right,
roof,
exactly. So
is
I think that would
612,
be-
so it's
I
gonna.
don't see
So
how-
then all of the rafters will have to come out and you're putting your, okay,
Yeah, so I have to come out.
so that is,
Right, so it will have very, very much the look that it has now, except it will be symmetrical.
Symmetrical on both sides.
And will not have a dent in it, okay?
do you know the pitch on that?
On
On the new roof,
612.
612?
What is that? The only place it's not currently 612 is where it comes down and does that little
Yeah.
down here. But down to that, it's a 612. The new one is
And then-
another side 612.
And then siding, I don't think we have to go through everything. Siding, he's going from clapboard siding to board and batten, which is a different style. And he's staying with vinyl, but it is complete removal of what was there and replacing with a different style. So to me, that is in violation of the guidelines since vinyl is not approved.
That's the last one.
Yeah.
Okay. Jerome?
I agree, except that, so if he's replacing plastic siding with plastic siding, it may make no difference at all.
Tom?
Well, with the siding, I mean, vinyl to vinyl, even though it's board and batten, it's like splitting hairs to me, so I would I think though that I'm gonna agree with Owen on this.
I agree with Jerome on it, but, you know, look, it's synthetic siding, it's just, you know, however you want it to be horizontal or vertical. I mean, they had it there before, we have a right to put it back in that case, so. With that, we'll accept the motion.
I'll take it,
Go ahead.
just make sure I've got everything in here, guys, because there's a lot. Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that Madison Historic District Board of Review grant a certificate of appropriateness to Patrick Lynch for the proposed demolition of the west wall and reconstruction of 8 inches to make the roof line symmetrical. Demolition of the roof and reconstruction, the new pitch will be 612 with a new standing seam roofing system. 2 new aluminum clad 2x4 wood windows on the east side, west side of the house, and replacement of the vinyl siding with vinyl board and batten replacement, back door replacement and front door of fiberglass, and the construction of an addition from 3 feet to 5 feet for additional space in the bathroom located at 820 Fillmore Alley. Did I get it all?
No,
French doors.
What I missed?
moving the porch door by 3 feet. and
Moving what?
replacing
Porch
The
door
rear
by
porch
6 feet,
door?
that side porch door.
Yeah,
Moving
moving.
the door front of steps.
moving it by 3 feet and replacing French doors.
Yeah.
So, let me go back.
That was
to
the, door that you wanted.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
that one.
So, removing the historic door and transom and filling that in, and putting a new door 2 to 3 feet to the west of that door, or what is that, north? That will match the French doors next to it,
Then you say, okay, south wall.
south of it. Is that it?
Do you have a second?
Do we have roof on that?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
I second.
Roll call.
Josh Wilbur,
Approved.
Jerome Vernon,
Approved.
Thomas Stark,
Approve.
and Owen McCall.
Approved.
All right. If you see COA in the mail, make sure you have your gold building permits and you can go. Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate
You all
it.
have a nice evening.
You too, Patrick.
All right, so we got,
Thank you.
we got new, let's see, we got any new business? No new business. All right, so old business. We do have old business?
No, no,
Yeah.
sorry, the staff report, sorry.
All right, staff report.
So February fast tracks, I did an approval for Blue Wolf Lake at 109 East Main for a fabric awning sign. For Zachary Lee at 101 East Main for a projecting sign and vinyl window signs. For John DeLuca at 210 West 2nd Street for exterior storms. And for Rodney Pettit at 901 West 1st Street for new aluminum clad windows to match historic openings. We did have photographic evidence of that. And then February 2021 COA review. The Courtneys at 709 East 1st Street built a new garage. It has been done. Kim and Jeff Kennard at 506 East Main, a 12 by 16 foot porch. That's been done. Charles Roquette at 737 Jefferson to demo a shed. That has been done. Richard and Sally Plass at 811 West 1st to add 3 feet to the rear porch and enclosing a 10 foot by 10 foot area. That has been done. And William Tandy at 1017 Park Avenue to build a new home, and it is in progress.
Do we need to do an extension for Tandy? Then?
No, because he has 1 year to begin his
Okay,
project.
just
He
make
began
sure.
it,
Okay.
so he's good.
All right, anything else from the board? All right, I'll accept a motion to adjourn. Just a motion.
I so moved.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. You're,
Well, who seconded the motion?
Second.
Okay, guys. Somebody doesn't. Woo, that was a long one.
That was a long one. Thanks, Brooke.
Yep, absolutely. Let me